Chapter 6035. The scene in front of them shocked everyone. Yutian City's young master, who was about to prove his Tao, was injured by someone just like that. Who was the young man who attacked Yutian? When the old demon of the Yu family saw this scene, he exclaimed, "How dare you!" He quickly rushed over to save Yu Tianchen. However, Lin Xian was faster. He waved his hand and endless sword chi shrouded Yu Tianchen and brought him to his side. Then, he stepped on Yu Tianchen's head. Yu Tianchen was completely stunned. He was about to prove his Tao. He was high and mighty. He ignored everything. In his opinion, he could easily kill a young man. But in the end, the other party beat him to a pulp with a single finger. Now, he was stepped on by someone. He couldn't accept this. He roared to the sky and vomited blood. His lungs were about to burst. "I don't believe it. Who are you? Who are you? How can you defeat me? You are a great emperor, aren't you? You are an old monster." In his opinion, if the young man was a great emperor, he could accept it. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly and slapped the other party's body, shattering the other party's bones. Blood flew out. Many of his bones were broken. Lin Xian said indifferently, "Shut up. I can only tell you regretfully that I am not a great emperor. I am just a quasi-emperor." How could this be? Yu Tianchen's Taoist heart was broken and cracked. He couldn't accept that a quasi-emperor was stronger than him. Why would he be defeated by someone? Why did the young man appear on the eve of his Tao? Was he a demon? Was he here to punish him? Let him go. The old demon of the Yu family said coldly, "Otherwise, you will regret it. Although you are strong, the foundation of the Yu family is not something you can imagine." "Old ancestor, why are you talking nonsense with him? Hurry up and attack." Yu Tianchen roared crazily. The Yu family's Chunimo had no choice but to rush over. The moon behind him rose into the sky and formed a hazy light that shrouded the sky and earth. Everyone felt a shiver run down their spines. The wrath of a great emperor was extremely terrifying. At this moment, Xue Qi, who was next to him, attacked. Zhang Xian waved his hand, and a frightening amount of ice burst forth, morphing into the divine nine-yin palm that enveloped the entire area. He fought with the old demon of the Yu clan. Oh heavens, this woman is actually a great emperor? No way. Which family is she from? Everyone knelt on the ground, their bodies trembling. Who would have thought that little fairy, who was as beautiful as a fairy at such a young age, would actually possess such terrifying strength? Damn it. The old demon of the Yu clan also had an ugly expression. At this time, a long howl came from afar. Then, someone stepped on Moonfire and quickly flew over. This was a middle-aged man. The chicken on his body was terrifying, divine flames surging through heaven and earth. He was the other great emperor of the Yu family. "It's great that he's here. Stop it." Yu clan's old demon angrily shouted. The newcomer spat out divine flames and charged toward Lin Xian. "Die!" The great emperor was infuriated. The divine flame on his body was terrifying, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. It was as if the god of slaughter from ancient times had come back to life, staring at Lin Xian. "Kid, you're dead." Yu Tianchen, who was under his feet, burst into laughter. Although Zhang Xian had defeated him, he was still a great emperor. However, he was still not a martial monarch. He could not be compared to a real martial monarch. Lin Xian stretched out his hand and flicked his finger. Sword chi roared and streaks of sword light soared into the sky. It split all the moonfire in the sky. That's impossible. Yu Tianchen was going crazy. This is a real divine flame. How did he split it? He seemed to have seen the most incredible thing. The great emperor of the Yu clan was the same. He was called the Moonlight Great Emperor. His moonlight divine flame was extremely terrifying. Could it be that he couldn't defeat Zhang Xian? Damn it. He looked up to the sky and roared. The divine flame on his body condensed into a palace, like the ninth heaven palace, and fell down mercilessly. From inside, an extremely terrifying and unknown creature emerged. That creature was shrouded in white mist, and only a pair of eyes could be seen. A pair of flame-like eyes pierced through the void. At this moment, countless people were terrified. Yu Tianchen laughed. "Great, the great ancestor is serious. You're dead. He knew that this move was the unique skill of his family's great ancestor. Was he serious? Then do you know what I look like when I'm serious? Lin Xian waved his sleeve, and endless sword chi surged. Cosmos sword formation. All things as swords. At this moment, millions of sword chi shrouded the world. The scene was extremely shocking. Everyone went crazy. Every single one of them could easily pierce through Nine-Crown King. Millions of sword chi, even a great emperor. So what? Even if he was shrouded, he would die without a doubt. In the next moment, the two attacks collided, and a deafening sound was heard. The unknown creature that walked out of the Moon Palace was torn to pieces in an instant. The sword chi in the sky rushed toward the Moonlight Great Emperor. Impossible! The Moonlight Great Emperor roared crazily. He turned around and ran away. Damn it! What the hell was going on? Why was the opponent's strength so terrifying? In the next moment, he was hit by some sword chi. Immediately, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The great emperor's blood pierced through the world, and the ninth heaven shook violently. At this moment, everyone looked up, dumbfounded. Yu Tianqin was even more dumbfounded. The real great emperor of his family was injured by the opponent. What kind of sword chi was this? It was too sharp. Stop, I admit defeat. The Moonlight Great Emperor roared. He didn't dare to attack again. The old demon of the Yu family also retreated. Their faces were full of horror. They cupped their fists and said, "Young master, who are you?" At this moment, they didn't dare to be careless. The great emperor saluted. Countless people were stunned. For thousands of years, the great emperor was high and mighty, above everything. Below the great emperor, everyone was an ant. But now, he was indeed like an ant below the great emperor. They couldn't believe it. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. My name is Lin Wudi. What an arrogant name, but they had never heard of it. The two great emperors of the Yu family frowned. So it's young Master Wudi. How did we offend you? Please forgive us, young master. We apologize. You are high and mighty, looking down on all living things like ants. You want to kill me with a wave of your hand. Tell me, how did you offend me? Hearing this, the old demon of the Yu family's face became extremely ugly. They didn't know that the ant in their eyes was actually a giant dragon. This time, they really kicked an iron plate. The Moonlight Great Emperor bowed deeply. We sincerely apologize for what happened before. We don't want the natural treasures in the valley. We give them to you. We hope you can be merciful and let Yu Tianqin go. Now, they were most nervous about Yu Tianqin, who was suppressed. This was an extremely promising genius of the family. In the future, he could go very far on the road of the great emperor. If he died now, they couldn't explain it. You mean him? Lin Xian looked down at Yu Tianqin. Then the corners of his mouth rose. Don't worry, I won't kill him. He doesn't deserve it. And I have other uses for him. After all, he was a very good testing stone for his saber. Chapter 6036. He didn't deserve it. Yu Tianqin was furious when he heard this. Although he had been saved, he felt extremely aggrieved. Damn it, I want revenge. I must take revenge. He roared crazily in his heart. When he became a great emperor, he would kill him with his own hands. Get lost. Lin Xian sent him flying with a kick. Xueqi sent a voice transmission to him. Husband, are you keeping him for Elder Xia? That's right. Lin Xian nodded. Elder Xia was about to become a great emperor, and he needed a battle. Therefore, this guy was the best enemy. Let him be Elder Xia's stepping stone. This was the main reason why he didn't kill him. Tianqin, are you okay? The two great emperors of the Yu family quickly took Yu Tianqin and protected him with their dharma. Yu Tianqin gritted his teeth. Damn it, this guy is too evil. Let's leave here first and go back to recover. The three of them turned into flowing lights and disappeared. They had escaped. Two great emperors and a top genius of the Yu family had escaped in such a sorry state. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. When they looked at Lin Xian, their eyes were filled with fear. Let's go. Then, Lin Xian turned around and walked toward the Soul Valley in front of him. Everyone could only look on enviously. No one dared to compete with Lin Xian. Xueqi also followed beside him. The two of them were like two great emperors. The Dharma on their bodies split the world. Lin Xian's eyes were shining with a terrifying light. They tore apart the power of the Soul Valley and walked in. After they entered, countless soul fires appeared around them. Then, they turned into a soul sword and floated between heaven and earth. The powerful aura terrified those below the great emperor realm. However, Lin Xian and Xueqi didn't mind at all. After all, they were still able to withstand this pressure. Lin Xian was surprised. There are so many immortal chi fragments. Indeed, there were 5 immortal artifact fragments in the Soul Valley. It would be very helpful for him to improve his immortal chi seed. Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed forward. The soul sword erupted with a piercingly cold radiance as it slashed down from the sky. The dazzling power wanted to force Lin Xian back. In an instant, the void was torn apart, and countless soul sword chi engulfed Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly. His Rinnegan shone brightly as he activated the 6 paths of reincarnation. The illusions of the 6 worlds completely enveloped the millions of sword chi. The next moment, Lin Xian shouted coldly, "Phantom of the Samsara Sword." Previously, when he possessed the 3 Daos of heaven, earth, and man, he could already strike out the Phantom of the Samsara Sword. Now that he had the complete Rinnegan, it was much easier for him to form the Phantom of the Samsara Sword. Furthermore, he possessed a fragment of the Reincarnation Sword. At this moment, he didn't even need to use the fragment of the Reincarnation Sword. This illusion was more than enough to contend against the Soul Sword before him. A phantom appeared between heaven and earth. It carried the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation and shone with a sacred aura. As the sword slashed down, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The entire world seemed to be reincarnated. The surrounding soul flames kept flickering. In the next moment, they were completely extinguished. The soul flames shook violently and let out a ferocious cry. The murderous intent on the soul flames became even more terrifying. It wanted to contend against the Samsara Sword. The two collided and exploded continuously. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The Samsara Sword slashed down fiercely and sent the Soul Sword flying. The Soul Sword became dim. Its body swayed as it tried to escape. Xueqi shouted coldly, "Where do you think you're going?" She froze the world. The 9 mysterious ice covered heaven and earth, turning everything into a world of ice and snow. The power of the great emperor froze the entire valley. When the people outside saw this scene, they retreated in horror. What a terrifying chill. Those below the great emperor realm might not be able to withstand it. Even if they were great emperors, they would have to avoid it. These people were too terrifying. The Sword of Souls was also frozen. It struggled, but it couldn't escape at all. In the end, it was covered by the Rinnegan. Lin Xian began to seize the immortal chi fragments on it. "Who are you?" The soul sword in front of him roared angrily. Lin Xian said, "I'll only take the immortal chi fragments. I won't hurt you. If you resist again, I'll break this sword and destroy your body and soul. Don't doubt my words." Lin Xian rushed out again. This was a piercingly cold sword chi. This was an invincible power. The soul sword was shocked. It felt the sword chi and was extremely shocked. Obviously, the other party was still holding back. It fell silent. After a while, it said, "I'll give you any immortal chi. Please spare my life." The soul sword arrived at noon. The immortal chi fragments flew out and were taken away by Lin Xian. In the next moment, the ice in the sky disappeared. Lin Xian waved his hand and opened it. Xueqi flew into the sky and disappeared. After the two of them had left, the Sword of Souls fell down. It heaved a sigh of relief. This young man is even more terrifying. Although he hasn't become a great emperor, he has surpassed a great emperor. Who is he? Has such a terrifying master appeared in the 9th underworld? Fortunately, this time, the other party only took the immortal chi fragments and didn't attack it. Otherwise, it would have died. The Yu family. They lived in the ancient city and were a top family. However, at this moment, they were extremely angry. 2 great emperors came back in a sorry state, and Moon Sky City was damaged. This was an earth-shattering event. Who was it? Who was so reckless? They investigated and found that it was two young people, a man and a woman. Their strength was terrifying. The leader of the Yu family said in a deep voice, "These two people are secretly watching them. We can't let them escape. When Tianqin breaks through and becomes a great emperor, it will be time for us to fight back. Now, we must gather the family's resources and quickly restore Tianqin to his peak." Originally, there were several immortal artifact fragments in the Soul Valley. After he got them, he could start to prove his Tao. Now that he didn't succeed, we can only use other methods. We spent a lot of money to exchange for 3 immortal chi fragments from the Suspense family. Now, let's give them all to Tianqin. With these 3 immortal chi fragments, he should be able to break through and prove his Tao. Thank you, leader. I will not let you down. Tianqin's eyes shone with a cold light. Next, he went into seclusion. Several great emperors personally helped him recover from his injuries. Next, he swallowed the 3 immortal chi fragments and began to prove his Tao and become a great emperor. On the other side, Lin Xian and Xue Qi also returned to the 9th peak. Sensing Xia Jiuyo's aura, they were surprised. It's about time. He should be able to prove his Tao in a month. I have to be careful during this month, Lin Xian said. Then, he entered the sword world and began to cultivate. After obtaining 5 immortal chi fragments, Lin Xian had to absorb them well. The immortal chi seed in his left eye shone brightly and began to absorb the power of the immortal chi fragments. Many things happened in this month. For example, after the news of what happened in the Soul Valley spread, countless families and sects in the 9th underworld were shocked. The 2 great emperors of the Yu family were scared away, and Yu Tianqing was injured. Who did it? I don't know. Which force did those 2 young people belong to? Will Tianqin's Tao be affected and become a great emperor? Who knows? However, on this day, a piece of news came. Tianqin was going to prove his Tao. Chapter 6037. After the news spread, the world was in an uproar. The people of the 9 serenities were stunned. What? He's going to prove his Tao? That's fast, right? Didn't they say that he was injured? I originally estimated that he wouldn't be able to prove his Tao within 3 years. I didn't expect that he would start to prove his Tao within a month. The foundation of the Yu family is really strong. As expected of the people living in the ancient city, countless people were envious. At the same time, the Yu family also became nervous. They had already informed a few of the major clans in the ancient city in advance. They asked them not to make a move. The few big families had received benefits from the Yu family, so they acquiesced in it. After all, there would also be geniuses in their families who would prove their Tao in the future. If the 2 sides launched a sneak attack, the consequences would be endless and would last for many years. If the people of these families didn't make a move, the people outside were nothing to be afraid of. The people of the Yu family were completely relaxed. This time, Yu Tianqing would definitely succeed in proving his Tao. An extremely cold aura came from the Yu family. In the sky, 2 moons appeared, and they kept rotating. Under the moonlight, it seemed to cover the entire ancient city and swept in all directions. Above the 9 serenities, dark clouds filled the sky, and a monstrous aura condensed. Those dark clouds seemed to cover the moon, and there were large amounts of lightning spreading. Proving one's Tao and becoming a great emperor was extremely dangerous because one had to resist the lightning of the heavenly path. Only by enduring it could one become a great emperor. They had made a lot of preparations. After all, the Yu family had more than one great emperor, so they were very experienced. In their opinion, although it was dangerous to accept the heavenly path this time, in the end, it would be more daunting than dangerous. More and more lightning bolts filled the air. They were just waiting for the best opportunity to strike. Countless clans and sects raised their heads to look at the ancient city in the distance and the thick, dark clouds. The lightning that Prince Tianqin attracted is too terrifying. A new great emperor is going to appear in the 9 serenities. Countless exclamations were heard. At the same time, a figure stood on the peak of the 9th summit. His black robe fluttered, and his incomparably handsome face was frowning slightly at this moment. He was Lin Xian. What a terrifying lightning! Is someone going to prove his Tao? Xueqi, who was wearing snow-white clothes, walked over. He said, "That's right. This is the thunder of the heavenly Tao. I have experienced it before. From the looks of it, it should be that person from the Yu family who is going to affirm his Tao." Then, he looked at Elder Xia. "Is that okay?" Lin Xian said, "Believe in Elder Xia. This time, he will definitely be the one to affirm his Tao and become an emperor." Right after he finished speaking, a roar rang out. A furious roar came from the ninth summit. Following that, a figure soared into the sky. His body was surrounded by a terrifying light as he soared into the clouds. Immediately, above the 9 heavens, starlight flickered, resonating with each other. A terrifying and vast power spread out in all directions from the 9th summit. Countless dark clouds quickly gathered together, letting out rumbling sounds of thunder. It was as if a destructive power was about to appear. In the 9th summit, the 9 underworld spirit was trembling in fear. That youth was also shocked. His name was Butian. He raised his head and exclaimed, "What a terrifying thunder! Big brother, what happened?" "Grandpa." Beside him, Xia Xingqian also exclaimed, "Are you going to prove your Tao?" He was really excited. Lin Xian's figure flashed, and he came to the 9th summit. He said, "Don't be afraid. Elder Xia is going to break through. I'll protect you first." After that, Lin Xian waved his hand and formed 2 vortexes, enveloping Butian and Xia Xingqian. The 2 of them were enveloped in the vortexes by the extreme power. Only then did they let out a sigh of relief. The 2 of them looked outside with their cute big eyes. Lin Xian took a deep breath. His expression was extremely serious. He took out the immortal slaying sword. He said to Xueqi, "Elder Xia is going to break through. The Xia family won't come for the time being. However, the Yu family will definitely not let this go. At that time, there might be an earth-shattering battle." Xueqi said, "Don't worry, husband. I'm not afraid of anything." Sure enough, Xia Jiuyo's aura also spread out in all directions. Immediately, the surrounding families and sects were stunned. "What's going on? Why do I feel a super strong power again? Look, what's that in the south? Those are dark clouds. Monstrous dark clouds are gathering. What a terrifying thunder. That's the thunder of heavenly Tao. Someone is going to prove his Tao and break through to become a great emperor. No way." On the same day, at the same time, 2 thunder of heavenly Tao were going to fall. The 2 of them were going to break through and become great emperors together. It was incredible. Even the people in the ancient city were alarmed. The people of the Nanling family looked into the distance. They were surprised. Someone is going to challenge the Yu family. It's obviously because of Yu Tianqing. Although there are 2 thunder of heavenly Tao in the end, only one of them can prove his Tao and become a great emperor. Who will succeed? Interesting. The people of the Shinin family also laughed. It's not us who want to fight. Someone else wants to challenge you. Can you handle it? These big families were discussing among themselves. When the Yu family heard the news, their faces became gloomy. Obviously, this person didn't give them face. He didn't come early or late, but he just had to prove his Tao with the Yu family. What was he trying to do? Who was proving his Tao? Kill him in advance. They absolutely couldn't let him affect Tianqing. The Yu family issued an order. Immediately, the great emperor soared into the sky. It was the Moonlight Great Emperor and the Old Demon of the Yu family. The 2 of them were very fast. With infinite starlight of the great Tao, they flew toward the 9th peak. Before they arrived, the 2 of them slapped out a shocking palm. 2 big hands broke through the air. As if they had descended from the immortal realm, they were going to suppress all directions. Buzz. Xia Jiuyo's body shook. The 9 nether soul below also exclaimed, "Oh no, someone is coming to attack." Lin Xian snorted coldly. "I've been waiting for this." With a wave of his hand, the immortal slaying sword slashed out. Xueqi also took out the 9 nether sword and slashed out. The 2 of them were very strong. Immediately, the big hands in the sky were sent flying. In the next moment, they soared into the sky. "You 2 again." Lin Xian's eyes were filled with cold killing intent. After seeing Lin Xian, the The Moonlight Great Emperor and the Yu family's old demon's eyelids twitched wildly. Previously, they were scared away by Lin Xian. They didn't expect to see him again. Could it be that he was going to break through and become a great emperor? No, it wasn't him. It was that old man. They saw Xia Juyo. They went around to stop him. The two of them flew quickly, wanting to attack Xia Juyo. They waved their long swords and used the Qinkuan sword technique. Everything was a sword. The sword of heaven and earth, 100,000 swords, swept across the world. The Yu family's old demon was sent flying by the sword chi. A few cracks appeared on his body. He was extremely frightened. On the other side, the Moonlight Great Emperor was also sent flying by a pitch-black long sword. The power of the 9 nether on it made him vomit blood. How could it be? The two of them were so strong. He found that the two of them were much stronger than a month ago. Could it be that they didn't use their full strength before? No one could stop Elder Xia from breaking through. Lin Xian waved his long sword and split the world. Those who crossed the line would die. His voice was filled with infinite killing intent. Chapter 6038. Damn it. Go back to the family and ask the great emperors to come here. The Yu family's foundation was extremely powerful. After 300,000 years, the Yu family was still standing. They were definitely not comparable to the Yu family. You want to leave? Lin Xian raised his sword and charged over. He and Xueqi used the combination of yin and yang and launched a peerless attack together. The two of them were torn apart and spat out mouthfuls of blood. They roared in horror. Kid, just you wait. The two of them quickly fled. Lin Xian said, Cheer, you stay here and guard Elder Xia. I'll go and kill them. Lin Xian rushed into the distance with his sword. He fought against the entire Yu family alone. Husband, be careful, Xueqi shouted from behind. In the next moment, she waved her hand. An endless 9 in mysterious ice covered the entire 9th peak. She wouldn't let anyone take another step forward. In the void, 2 blood-red lights danced. They were the 2 great emperors of the Yu family. They were seriously injured. The combination of the 9 yin and 9 yang made them unable to resist. They were ready to return to their families. Old demon, you said. Damn it. He's here again. That kid is here. The Moonlight Great Emperor also roared. He's going too far. The two of them kept burning their immortal energy and sped up. They saw the ancient castle in front of them. In the next moment, they rushed into the ancient city. Great. The ancient city was their family's territory. No matter how strong the other party was, he couldn't behave atrociously here. Next, they would take revenge. They would pay back 10 times, or even 100 times. They would let the other party know what despair was. The people in the ancient city were also stunned. 2 great emperors were injured, and they were in such a sorry state. Who was the expert that did this? The people of the Xianin family and the Nanling family were even more shocked. Could it be the force of another Dao verifier? They were so powerful. Kid, come in if you have the guts. Old demon, you roared crazily. Outside the ancient city, a cold voice came. Do you think you can challenge me after entering the ancient city? How stupid. Hearing this voice, the people in the ancient city looked outside. There was a figure standing in the void outside. It was a young figure surrounded by sword energy. He looked like a sword god. Not only that, but there was also a kind of flame energy on his body. The other party was high up in the air, like a sun shining down on the world. The gloomy and cold aura above the pitch-black Joyo ancient city became much dimmer. Inside the ancient city, countless people frowned. I hate the light. This power made me very uncomfortable. How could the 9 serenities have such a pure and masculine power? Who was he? Countless voices could be heard. The faces of the people of the major clans also changed drastically. This guy doesn't seem to be from the 9th serenity. Boom! At this moment, Lin Xian made his move. Slapping out with his palm, he transformed into a sun that descended directly into the ancient city. The old demon of the Yu clan was sent flying. The body that the old demon of the Yu clan had just reformed was torn apart once again. This scene was extremely shocking. In the ancient city, countless experts went crazy. Since when was the great emperor so weak? The other party actually dared to make a move. The Moonlight Emperor also exclaimed, "Retreat! Retreat quickly! Let's go back to the family." They hurriedly called for help. The people of the Yu clan were all nervously paying attention to the situation in Moon Sky City. They didn't care about the other Dao verifier. They sent out 2 great emperors, but they still couldn't kill the other party. But at this moment, they heard screams outside the family. Outside the ancient city, there was a golden radiance that was like the sun. What was going on? Did someone come to the ancient city to behave atrociously? For tens of thousands of years, no one dared to come to the ancient city to behave atrociously, because there were too many experts here, and there was more than one great emperor. Whoever came here was courting death. In the next moment, 2 figures flew into the courtyard of the Yu clan. The people of the Yu clan were all stunned. These 2 ancestors were injured. Who injured them? The patriarch of the Yu clan even walked out. He frowned tightly. "What's going on?" The Moonlight Emperor said, "He's here. That kid is here. He's outside the city. He wants to kill us." Soon, the people of the Yu clan understood that another Dao verifier's force had come. How many people were there? They watched nervously, but when they found that there was only one person, they were all stunned. A man with a sword came to the ancient city to behave atrociously. He was really reckless. "I'm going to kill him." Another figure walked out. This was a tall man. He was the 3rd great emperor of the Yu clan. His name was Yulei. His voice carried a thunderous aura as he soared into the sky. Before Shao Qian could leave the clan, a lightning hammer ruthlessly smashed down, heading for the outside of the ancient city. With a bang, the void outside the ancient city kept shattering. The great emperor made another move. Countless people exclaimed. This was the great Emperor Yulei, who was famous in the ancient city. Buzz. The divine fire on Lin Xin's body was like the sun, burning continuously. His fists danced. 9 suns' divine fist. Thousands of suns fell, enveloping the ancient city. The ancient city shook violently. The people inside were shocked. This feeling was like the end of the world. The light expelled the darkness. The thunder god's hammer in the sky was instantly blasted out. The entire Yu clan was affected. This sun-like power. The Yu clan's array began to defend. Many array formations were broken through. This was too much. The old demon of the Yu clan and the Moonlight Emperor joined forces to resist. Damn it! This kid was so strong. Impossible? Our clan has 4 great emperors. Can't we kill him? The 3 of you go together. The patriarch of the Yu clan was also a great emperor. However, he disdained to make a move. With a wave of his hand, the 3 great emperors charged out again. The old demon of the Yu clan snorted coldly. "Kid, you 9 yin and 9 yang were very powerful when you joined forces. But now, there's only you. Let's see how you can make a move." The 3 sneered. Everyone in the ancient city was also watching. That kid was dead for sure. Yes, even if he was a great emperor, facing the siege of 3 people, he would definitely be defeated. Not only would he be defeated, he might not even be able to escape. He might very well die here. Indeed, it was very difficult for a great emperor to die. However, if it was an absolute kill, the other party would definitely not be able to survive. 3 great emperors, this was a power that exceeded how many times? This person would definitely die. Buzz. Lin Xian didn't talk nonsense. With a wave of his hand, the universe ring flew out. He directly charged into the old demon of the Yu clan. The old demon of the Yu clan's body was pierced through. The great emperor's blood stained the sky. He let out a miserable cry. Attack? The other party actually dared to launch a sneak attack. The Moonlight Great Emperor charged over, and the moonlight blades that filled the sky slashed down from the sky. Lin Xian waved the immortal slaying sword, combined with the power of the great dragon sword, and cut off the other party's arm with one sword. When the second sword fell, there was a dragon-like roar between heaven and earth. The body that was split into 2 halves. He found that he couldn't heal. That pain had caused permanent damage to him. Damn it, what kind of power was this? Boom. The 3rd great emperor of the Moon Thunder made a move. The thunder hammer hit Lin Xian's body, sending him flying. He landed below. It was a kill. Everyone exclaimed. But soon, Lin Xian walked out of the crack. Cracks appeared on his body. However, the 9 young divine body instantly healed. Was this a monster? 3 great emperors working together couldn't kill him. On the contrary, the other party seriously injured 2 great emperors as soon as he made a move. Chapter 6039. Who are you? The leader of the Yu family was no longer calm. He had never heard of such strength. I am Lin Wudi. What an arrogant name. Never heard of it. Never heard of it before. It didn't matter. In the future, this name would shine like the sun in the sky. He would become a legend. Arrogant. Many experts snorted. They felt that Lin Xian was too arrogant. The leader of the Yu family also said, "Are you here to stop Tianchun from proving his Tao?" "I won't agree." Lin Xian smiled. "I have a suggestion. I hope you can accept it." That was to have 2 people from the righteous path engage in a huge battle. The winner proves his Tao, and the loser scram. Do you dare? The people in the ancient city below were shocked when they heard this. It was unbelievable. Proving one's Tao was already very dangerous. After all, one had to undergo the baptism of the heavenly Tao. It was a narrow escape. A big battle at this time would be even more dangerous. Was this kid crazy? The leader of the Yu family also snorted. "We have the absolute advantage. Why should we fight with you? Don't you think it's ridiculous?" Lin Xian laughed. "Absolute advantage? Are you sure? I have ways to stop him from proving his Tao. If you don't believe me, feel it." Lin Xian activated the power of the great dragon sword soul. Suddenly, countless dragon roars sounded between heaven and earth. The terrifying power shook the entire ancient city. Damn it! What kind of energy is this? It's so sharp. The people around were shocked. Not to mention the Yu family, the Nanling family, and the Shinin family were also facing a big enemy. This person had a transcendent power. I admit that the Yu family has 4 great emperors. It's not easy for me to kill you, but it's much easier for me to stop him from proving his Tao. Are you sure you want to continue? What should we do? The other 3 great emperors looked at the leader of the Yu family. The leader of the Yu family said, "Wait, let's see if we can join forces with the other families." The other 2 families were not weaker than them. If any of the families joined forces with them, it would be easy to kill the other party. As if he had seen through the other party's intentions, Lin Xian said in a low voice, "Today's matter is between me and the Yu clan. I hope that no one else will interfere. If anyone wants to join hands with the Yu family, then they are my enemy. I will use the rest of my life to hunt down the entire family and ensure that not a single one of them will be left alive." A cold voice rang out, causing everyone in the ancient city to feel their scalps go numb. The Shinin clan and the Nanlin clan were originally considering whether or not to join forces. Hearing this, they immediately shook their heads. If they couldn't kill him in one strike and let him escape, he would become their family's nightmare. Therefore, they all refused. Damn it, the Yu clan leader also gritted his teeth, his expression extremely ugly. Lin Xian smiled. "You have no other choice. All right, I'll do as you say." When the time came, it would only be a battle between the 2 of them. No one else was allowed to make a move. "No problem. I'll choose the location between the 9th summit and the ancient city. Tell your men to come out." With that, Lin Xian waved his hand and a spatial array appeared. The next moment, it disappeared. So dangerous. The Nanlin clan and the Shinin clan were shocked. Fortunately, they didn't join forces before. Otherwise, if they joined forces and the other party escaped using the spatial array, the consequences would be unimaginable. On the 9th summit, Xueqi was nervously guarding it. When she saw Lin Xian return, she heaved a sigh of relief. "How did it go?" she asked. Lin Xian said, "The Yu family agreed. Elder Xia, you and Yu Tiancheng can fight. This battle will be absolutely fair. They won't interfere." Lin Gongzi, "Thank you." Xia Jiuyo roared at the sky. The great Tao on his body was even more terrifying. All kinds of strange phenomena appeared in the world. Then, he flew into the distance. At the same time, a figure also flew out from the Yu family. It was Yu Tianchen. Yu Tianchen was surrounded by 4 Saint Beast totems. At this moment, countless people looked into the distance. Heavens, these 2 people were about to prove their Tao. They were about to fight. They didn't know who would be stronger in this battle. The people in the ancient city had also arrived, except for the 4 great emperors of the Yu family. The people from the other 2 clans had also arrived. After all, this was a rare Dao-proving battle. It was an old man. Yu Tianqin's face was cold. He had thought that his Dao-proving battle would be very smooth, but he didn't expect that someone would want to compete with him. Moreover, when he saw that the other party was just an old man, he sneered. "Old man, you don't have much time left. You want to prove your Dao? What do you have to compete with me? I'm young and full of vigor. My blood is boiling. My strength and soul are all at the youngest and most powerful state. How can you be my opponent?" He roared at the sky, and a moon appeared in the sky. This huge moon seemed to cover the entire land. Countless people were terrified. So strong. Young Master Tianqing was really too strong. Yes, he was right. Being young and full of vigor was the biggest advantage. Would this old man be able to withstand it? Don't die in the process of the battle. It was useless to say more. They would know after the battle. Xia Zhuyo said coldly. He had been waiting for this day for many years. So this time, he wouldn't fail. "Old man, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Yu Tianqin roared in anger and flew forward. The moonlight in the sky fell and turned into a moonlight sword. It flickered continuously. The Dao-proving battle broke out in an instant, and everyone retreated. Even the great emperors retreated frantically. No one dared to make a move at this time, because the heavenly Dao lightning in the sky had already descended. If the great emperors were to enter, they would probably trigger the great emperor lightning tribulation. If they weren't careful, the great emperors would be turned into ashes. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. This way, no one would dare to make a move. This was also the reason why he dared to let Xia Zhuyo make a move. Because although they had fewer great emperors on their side, they were under the heavenly Dao. Even the great emperors couldn't interfere. The Yu family's clan leader said in a deep voice. Tianqin could only rely on himself. The Yu family's old demon said, "Don't worry, clan leader. Tianqin will definitely not let us down." As soon as he said that, Xia Zhuyo roared. Then, a 9 underworld gate seemed to be opened. An endless cold aura swept across. The moonlight sword in the sky shattered continuously. Xia Zhuyo sent Yu Tianqin flying with a punch. Half of Yu Tianqin's body cracked open, and fresh blood dripped down. He roared crazily. Impossible. The Yu family was stunned. The 4 great emperors were dumbfounded. How could this be? The others exclaimed in shock. This old man was too strong. Didn't they say that he didn't have much life left and his blood she had dried up? Why did it feel so terrifying? Chapter 60-40. Damn it, I don't believe it. Yu Tianqing rushed over again. He blocked the lightning in the sky and attacked Xia Zhuyo. Immortal sword under the moon. He shouted angrily. The great Dao Law in his hand formed into a first-grade sword light and stabbed forward. This was his ultimate move. Below the 9 underworlds, 9 underworlds made a strange sound. It was as if an ancient god had awakened. The great Dao heavenly sound shook everyone and made their blood boil. Even the martial monarchs were astounded. This bloodline was the bloodline of the Xia family. How was this possible? Was she from the Xia family? Everyone went crazy. The experts from the Yu family were dumbfounded as well. The Xia family was an existence that was even more terrifying than them. The Yu family had existed for 300,000 years. In these 300,000 years, they had 4 great emperors. Relying on this powerful force, they entered the ancient city. They could be said to be the overlord of this area. However, compared to the Xia family, they were nothing. Because the Xia family had existed for millions of years, they had more great emperors than them. It was even said that the Xia family had an Earth Immortal Realm expert. That was the real giant in the 9 underworlds. It was terrifying to the extreme. It was an existence that they could not afford to provoke. But they did not expect that this old man had the bloodline of the Xia family. This made them feel like they were going crazy. So what if he was from the Xia family? This was a fair battle. Yu Tianqin attacked with all his might. The Yu family leader roared crazily. Yu Tianqin heard and said, "I know. Family leader, trust me. I will not lose." He rushed over again. All kinds of great Tao starlight danced. He had unleashed his strongest attack. Clang! The moon in the sky suddenly fell and formed a long sword, falling in front of Yu Tiancheng. The killing intent in Yu Tiancheng's eyes was extremely strong. He had split the heavenly lightning apart. Xiaojiu's expression was cold as he performed the 9 nether song. He used his 9 underworld's body again. He attacked quickly. He punched out, and the black fist seemed to open up the gates of hell, descending from the sky. It shattered all the sword chi in the sky. The Moonlight Immortal Sword was also swaying non-stop. It was as if it was unable to withstand the attacks at all. In the end, the Moon Sword was shattered by the Black Fist. Yuetian City was also punched through. He was half kneeling in the void. He was going crazy. What kind of physique was this? Why was he so powerful? 4 sacred beast totems. Attack? The 4 animals beside him suddenly roared angrily and rushed over. However, Xia Jiuyo suppressed the 4 saint beast totems with a single palm strike. His physique was really too strong. It was so powerful that the 4 saint beast totems prostrated themselves on the ground. Impossible? Yu Tianchen's body started to tremble. The leader of the Yu family also roared, "Why is your bloodline so terrifying?" He had met the people from the Xia family before, and he also knew some of the Xia family's experts. However, he had never seen anyone with such a terrifying bloodline. It was even more terrifying than some of the emperor bloodlines of the Xia clan. Who exactly was this person? The leader of the Nanling family said, "I heard that the Xia family has a super powerful physique called the 9 underworld physique. However, it had not appeared for tens of thousands of years. Could this person have the 9 underworld physique? What? Was it the legendary physique? Damn it. How could this be?" Tianchen's luck was too bad. The great emperors of the Yu family looked terrible. Xia Jiuyo was old and experienced. The 9 underworld physique was extremely terrifying. The right time, the right place, and the right people were all on the other side. Could it be that this time, Tianchen was going to fail? If he failed this time, he would suffer a terrible fate. It would be a huge blow to Yuetian City. It was very likely that he would never be able to become a great emperor again. Did he still want to fight? Xia Jiuyo became more and more courageous as he fought. The power in his body kept exploding, and the lightning around him was split open by him. He seemed to have turned into the 9 underworld god. He was extremely powerful. On the other hand, Yuetian City's aura was extremely weak. His confidence had collapsed. But I don't believe it. Even if I fail, I won't let you succeed. At this point, he roared. A moon formed between his eyebrows. The bloodline in his body quickly condensed into the moon. It turned into a moon saber. On the other hand, the moon saber was completely condensed from the bloodline. In an instant, it cut through the sky. It carried an incomparable murderous intent and soared into the sky. Go to hell. Not good. Hurry up and attack. The Yu family's patriarch roared crazily. The power of the bloodline had been used up. Was Yuetian City prepared to die? He was too young. Couldn't he bear such a small setback? At worst, he could start all over again. They rushed over, wanting to stop him, but it was too late. The lightning in the sky scared them so much that they kept retreating. The great emperor's faces were extremely ugly. Was the worst-case scenario to perish together? Not good. Xia Jiuyo was also in danger. Lin Xin frowned and shook his head slightly. I can't do anything. You can only rely on yourself. He chose to believe in Xia Jiuyo. The bloodline sword shrouded Xia Jiuyo. Xia Jiuyo's body shook violently. Cracks appeared on his body. Go to hell. A ferocious voice sounded. Xia Jiuyo roared angrily. 9 Underworld's gate. Open for me. Xia Jiuyo roared angrily. He exerted his physique to the extreme. Behind him, 9 black doors appeared and slowly opened. A gloomy aura that could cover the sky and the earth emerged from within. It was as if 9 colossal monsters had awoken. That terrifying attack and defense caused everyone to retreat. Even the great emperors felt their hair stand on end at this moment. Heavens, is this the legendary 9 Underworld's body? It's too scary. What did he open? Why do I feel that the power of the entire 9 Underworlds has been mobilized by him? Countless cries of alarm sounded. The power that rushed out of the 9 black doors circled in front of Xia Jiuyo, forming a huge shield. It blocked the bloodline sword. Not only that, the endless power gathered again and formed a war halberd. The 9 underworlds' war halberd was swung fiercely. The sound of metal clashing resounded. The bloodline sword was instantly shattered. Everyone was stunned. The 9 underworlds' war halberd pierced through the sky and tore Yuetian City's body apart. He won. Lin Xin smiled when he saw this scene. Xia Jiuyo had won this battle. He had completely suppressed Yuetian City. On the other hand, the people of the Yuetian clan went crazy. Yuetian City's broken body fell from the sky. Yuetian City was badly damaged. The others were even more shocked. Was the victor decided? They had thought that this battle would last for a long time. After all, the 2 Dao conformations were on par with each other. It was very likely that this fierce battle would last for several years, or even decades. Such a thing had happened before. There had been a battle between 2 great emperors of similar strength. It had lasted for hundreds of years. But who would have thought that the victor would be decided so quickly? The gap between the 2 was ridiculously huge. Tianqian, how are you? The Yuetian clan's clan leader caught the broken body. He could feel that Yuetian City's aura was extremely weak. Even if he recovered, he would probably be half crippled. Damn it! He suddenly raised his head. Killing intent burst out from his eyes. I won't forgive you. Chapter 6041. Everyone's scalp went numb when they heard the resentful voice. Was the Yu family going crazy this time? If the 4 great emperors attacked him together, even if he became a great emperor, what could he do? Lin Xin sneered. He was not worried at all. In the sky, 2 dark clouds merged and formed a violent thunder of the way of the heavens. No one dared to attack him in the thunder, so he was absolutely safe. However, the 4 great emperors of the Yu family fixed their eyes on Lin Xin. He said, "Boy, I'll kill you first, then I'll kill that old thing. I'll kill all of you. Irrelevant people, get out of my way." The 4 great emperors landed and surrounded Lin Xin. Who dares to attack him? Xueqi came to Lin Xian's side and shouted coldly, "So what if there's one more? We have absolute power." The surrounding people were talking among themselves. This boy is dead for sure. Yes, these 2 top geniuses are probably going to die here. There's no other way. That old man can't save them. Countless voices of justice could be heard. Lin Xin looked up to the sky and laughed. Ha ha ha, you want to attack me? Cheer fused her yin and yang. Xueqi nodded. In the next moment, the 2 of them used their super strong physiques and punched out with the 9 yin and 9 yang. The clan leader retreated quickly. The old demon of the Yu family behind him roared angrily. He wanted to warn the clan leader, but it was too late. After the fusion of the 9 yin and 9 yang, they were extremely terrifying. They sent the clan leader of the Yu family flying with one punch. When everyone saw this scene, their eyes were wide open and they were incomparably shocked. They saw a huge bloody hole appear in the sky. Standing in the void, the terrifying blood of the moon dyed the 9 heavens. Following this, a rain of blood fell from the sky. Countless people were terrified. Is the clan leader of the Yu family injured? These 2 young people can injure a great emperor. Who are they? In the broken mountain in the distance, the clan leader of the Yu family stood up. His immortal qi kept spreading out, and his armor shone with cold light. However, a corner of the armor was already broken. Not only that, one of his shoulders was dripping with blood. The wound had split open, and many of the bones inside had been shattered. He was actually injured by a single punch. Unforgivable. I want you to die. The killing intent in his eyes turned into a shocking sword light that tore the void apart. When the great emperor raged, countless people prostrated themselves on the ground. Quickly retreat. The Yu family has gone crazy. The following great battle will definitely be at the level of Armageddon. He didn't know what was good for him. Lin Xian sneered. The 99 young 9 young 99 young 9 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 yang a diagram surrounded by the power of yin and yang. It was as if a diagram of the Sciention realm had appeared, and it pressed down fiercely. With a loud boom, the clan leader of the Yu clan was sent flying again. Heavens, this was an absolute suppression. If one were to say that the Yu clan's clan leader had been careless before, then the Yu clan's clan leader had been careless. However, this time around, there was simply no way to use carelessness as an explanation. It could only be said that the strength of these two youths had already surpassed that of a great emperor. Clan leader, don't act blindly without thinking. Both of them have divine bodies. They are the 9 Yin divine body and the 9 Yang divine body, which are not weaker than the 9 Netherworld divine body. The voice of the old demon of the Yu family was heard. Countless people were in an uproar. What? Another divine body. A super strong physique under the starry sky. A super bloodline that was rarely seen in 10,000 years in all the worlds in the universe. Today, 3 of them appeared at the same time. It was too unbelievable. What kind of day was this? They were actually lucky enough to meet 3 divine bodies in their lives. 2 of them were the 9 Yin divine body and the 9 Yang divine body. Impossible? The great emperor of the south roared crazily. It was normal for the 9 Yin divine body to appear. However, he had the 9 Yang divine body. How could he appear in the 9 Netherworld? The 9 Netherworld had been closed for more than 1,000,000 years. How did he cultivate to the great success stage? Everyone was going crazy. Until now, they still didn't know that Lin Xian came in from the outside. Because in their opinion, the 9 Netherworld was closed, and people from the outside couldn't enter at all. You are not stupid. At least you have some knowledge. Since you know, with our physiques, you should know that you are no match for him at all if you join forces. Hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, I will destroy you. Damn it. The leader of the Yu family was so angry that he vomited blood. He said, I am no match for him alone, but what if the 4 of us join forces? I don't believe that you can fight against 4 great emperors. The leader of the Yu family walked up. His broken body quickly merged. Then, it was perfect as before. The other 3 great emperors also cooperated and went up together. A great battle was about to break out. At this moment, Lin Xian snorted. He slashed out with his sword, and the power of the great dragon sword soul burst out. In the sky, a giant dragon appeared. The terrifying power condensed, and it was invincible. The extreme weapons in the surroundings began to sway. What kind of power was this? The people of the Yu family were stunned. The other 2 families were also trembling in fear. They felt a chill down their spines. The great emperor of the South Spirit looked up at the sky. Then he said, Why does it look so similar to the portrait hanging in our family? The mystic Yin great emperor also gasped. It is the legendary great dragon sword. Heavens, am I blind? The great dragon sword actually appeared here. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. At this moment, countless people were stunned. Some of the younger people were originally here to watch the Dao-proving battle. They were puzzled. What was the great dragon sword? They couldn't help it. These people were very young. They didn't know about the battle 1,000,000 years ago. However, these great emperors knew. Although they might not have been born 1,000,000 years ago and hadn't become great emperors. However, once they became martial monarchs, they would have a better understanding of the ancient war. They knew that in that battle, there were some extremely terrifying existences that they couldn't provoke. After seeing them, they had to immediately kneel down. One of them was the great dragon sword. In the Nanling family, there was even a portrait drawn by the first generation of the family. That was the portrait of the great dragon sword. In the portrait, the earth below was shattered. Above the great emperor, the sky cracked, and a dragon star divine sword pierced through the 9 heavens. Countless great emperors prostrated themselves in worship. Now, the sword shadow in the sky was very similar to the portrait left behind by the first generation of the family. Therefore, the Nanling Great Emperor instantly walked out. Junior Nanling greets Senior Great Dragon Sword. Junior Xian Yin greets Senior Great Dragon Sword. The two great emperors lowered their heads. Everyone was stunned. At this moment, even those young people didn't know what the Great Dragon Sword was. However, when they saw the great emperors bow so respectfully, they were dumbfounded. Who could make the great emperors bow their heads? The answer was no. But now, there was a sword that made the great emperors bow their noble heads. The great dragon sword spirit returned to Lin Xian's hand. Lin Xian held the sword like a sword god. He said, "I am the successor of the great dragon sword. Do you still dare to fight with me?" The successor of the great dragon sword. Not only did he have a super strong starry sky physique, but he was also the successor of the great dragon sword. No wonder he was so strong. He didn't become a great emperor, but he had the battle strength of a great emperor. He even surpassed ordinary great emperors. The legend of the great dragon sword was indeed worthy of its reputation. If he became a great emperor, he could easily kill us. At this moment, the great emperors of the two families were terrified. The people of the Yu family had extremely ugly expressions. Chapter 6042. The faces of the Yu family members became extremely ugly. The four great emperors' bodies trembled a little. They felt a chill on their backs. Millions of years ago, their Yu family didn't have it. However, they had also heard of what happened back then. The prestige of the great dragon sword had long been deeply rooted in their hearts. Even if they were great emperors, they were now facing a great enemy. Should they bow down? Old Demon Yu and the others all looked at the family. The family leader's face was cold. He was high and mighty. He had become a great emperor 100,000 years ago. In these 100,000 years, he would no longer bow his head. So what if he was the successor of the great dragon sword? He hadn't become a great emperor yet. He couldn't use the full power of the great dragon sword. This was a good opportunity. If we join forces to kill him, our Yu family will have the great dragon sword. At that time, the entire 9 serenities will be ruled by our Yu family. Hearing this, the southern spirit great emperor and the others all gasped. Was the Yu family crazy? Old Demon Yu and the others also took a deep breath. This was too crazy. But thinking about it, it was really possible. Taking advantage of the fact that the other party hadn't become a great emperor yet, this was a great opportunity. Okay, let's do it. The Moon Thunder Great Emperor nodded in agreement. I have no objection. The Moonlight Great Emperor also gritted his teeth. Wealth came from danger. This was their only chance. Extremely terrifying light burst out of the 4 great emperors. They took out their extreme weapons. The Yu family leader even said, "Burn your immortal energy. We only have one chance to attack. We can't fail." The immortal energy of the 4 burst out. Endless great emperor energy surged in all directions. Everyone went crazy at this moment. Lin Xian also frowned tightly. Were they going to fight to the death? He snorted coldly and prepared to use the power in the sword world to fully recover the great dragon sword soul. At the same time, he prepared to use the 6 paths of reincarnation to summon the palm in the Sun Valley. He would let the other party know what regret was. The battle was about to break out in an instant. However, at this moment, there was a change. In the distance, an extremely cold light streaked over. At the same time, there was an extremely terrifying aura of death. Feeling this aura, the surrounding great emperors all trembled in fear. Below, the endless forest and mountains were all shattered. Some of the spectators were also instantly reduced to ashes. Not good. Run quickly. What kind of aura was that? This was the aura of death. It was too terrifying. Who was it? The 4 great emperors of the Yu clan also felt a chill down their spines, as if they were facing a great enemy. In the next instant, they saw a giant white-boned snake circling in the sky. Standing on top of the snake's head was a figure. It was a zombie-like figure. 2 godly flames were flickering in his eyes. He was a martial emperor. Furthermore, he was a martial emperor who had managed to cultivate 2 divine flames. His strength had completely surpassed theirs. This was an expert. Everyone acted as if they were facing a great enemy. The leader of the Yu family also said, "Greetings, Senior. How should I address you?" What can we do for you? Although they were incomparably arrogant, they did not dare to act impudently before the zombie-like figures. The people from the Nanling clan and Shinin clan were also extremely respectful. However, the zombie-like figure did not pay any attention to them at all. His eyes were fixed on Lin Xian. He said, "Kid, I finally found you. Come with me. I need your help." Everyone was stunned. This martial emperor with two divine flames actually knew Lin Xian, and it seemed that they were very familiar with each other. Especially the last sentence, "I need your help." Heavens, even a powerhouse with two divine flames needed his help? Countless people were shocked. The leader of the Yu family's face changed drastically. Their hearts thumped. Not good. They had a bad feeling about this. Sure enough, Lin Xian said, "I can't go with you because they plan to kill me." Who was so reckless? The zombie-like figure was none other than the zombie emperor that Lin Xian had rescued. After hearing this, he was immediately furious. Who was so reckless? Who dared to attack my savior? What? My savior? The great emperors on the opposite side were even more crazy. This is impossible. The people of the Yu family also roared. How could a powerhouse with two divine flames need someone else's help? It's you, right? The zombie emperor turned his head and stared at the leader of the Yu family. In the next moment, he attacked aggressively. The death chi on his body kept condensing as if he had turned into the god of death. No, the leader of the Yu family roared. The four great emperors resisted together, but they were still sent flying in an instant. The sky fell, and the earth cracked. The four of them vomited blood, and cracks appeared on their bodies. You want to fight me? You don't know what's good for you. The zombie emperor reached out his hand again. The zombie-like hand aimed at the leader of the Yu family and grabbed forward fiercely. Not good. The leader of the Yu family's face changed drastically. The previous attack had already injured them. Facing the second attack, he had no time to resist at all. He could only mobilize all his strength and waved his extreme weapon fiercely. However, the gap between the two sides was really too big. In an instant, the leader of the Yu family was enveloped by this hand. All the bones in his body were broken, and he let out a miserable cry, "Senior, please spare my life." He quickly begged for mercy. The other three great emperors also looked anxious. They looked at Lin Xian and said, "Young master, we were wrong. Please spare our lives. We are willing to pay any price." "Kid, what do you think we should do?" The zombie emperor looked at Lin Xian. Everyone's eyes also looked at Lin Xian. As long as Lin Xian gave the order, this great emperor would probably be destroyed in body and soul. The leader of the Yu family also said, "Young master, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please spare my life." "It's not impossible to spare your lives." Hearing this, the leader of the Yu family breathed a sigh of relief. But in the next moment, his pupils shrank sharply. Because Lin Xian said, "I need you four great emperors to let me see your immortal chi origin." What? The great emperors of the Yu family went crazy. The immortal chi origin was their most fundamental secret. How could they give it out so easily? "If you don't want to, then I have no choice. I can only let you go to hell. Your Yu family has been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. You don't want it to be destroyed, right?" It was a threat, and a very direct threat. However, who told him to be so powerful, knowing an elite with two divine flames? The leader of the Yu family had no choice but to say, "Okay, we are willing to take out the immortal artifact origin." Very good. Lin Xian raised the corner of his mouth. He looked at the zombie emperor and said, "Senior, please protect me. I want to see the immortal chi origin of the four of them immediately." "No problem." The zombie emperor waved his hand and threw the leader of the Yu family aside. He said, "In front of me, they don't dare to behave atrociously." The four great emperors of the Yu family had no choice but to come in front of Lin Xian. The immortal chi on their bodies appeared and hovered in the air. This immortal chi was extremely mysterious. It was their most fundamental power. It was formed after they experienced the heavenly Tao thunder tribulation. Every strand of immortal chi contained a different amount of power. This was their greatest secret. But now, they wanted others to see it carefully. The Moonlight Great Emperor snorted coldly in his heart. You are so young and not even a great emperor. Can you understand it? These great emperors all had the same thought in their hearts. Lin Xian's eyes bloomed with an extremely cold light. The immortal qi seed in his left eye jumped, and the Rinnegan in his right eye bloomed. This was an excellent opportunity for him. Chapter 60:43. Lin Xian had the seed of divine fire and the seed of immortal qi. His cultivation of the seed of divine fire was going smoothly. Moreover, he felt that in his current state, it would be no problem for him to become a great emperor with the seed of divine fire. However, it would be difficult for him to cultivate the seed of immortal qi. Therefore, Lin Xian focused on cultivating the seed of immortal qi. Previously, Lin Xian had obtained a few fragments of immortal qi. Now, he had the opportunity to see the immortal qi of the four great emperors. This was an extremely precious opportunity for him. He used the Eye of Rinnegan to the extreme and enveloped the four streams of immortal qi. This eye is so mysterious, and it has such terrifying power. The four great emperors were surprised. They originally thought that Lin Xian wouldn't be able to understand it. However, they didn't expect Lin Xian to have such a mysterious eye. Perhaps the other party was truly able to see their source. So that's how it is. It's so magical. Lin Xian was surprised. Although the immortal qi looked simple, it was extremely complicated. However, the inside was complicated to the extreme. It was much more mysterious than the previous great das. For a moment, Lin Xian stood there in a daze, as if he were staring blankly. The corpse emperor narrowed his eyes and thought, "When will this end?" Xueqi said, "Senior, it's no use being anxious. The one who has attained Tao is our friend. We have to wait until he has attained Tao and is no longer in danger. Only then will our husband leave with you." Hearing this, the corpse emperor was also stunned. In the next moment, he looked forward and narrowed his eyes. "Oh, is that the person from the Xia family? He has the 9 underworlds body." At this moment, Xia Juyo's physique was fully displayed. The powerful 9 underworlds energy surrounded him. It formed all kinds of laws to resist the thunder of heavenly Tao. Fortunately, Lin Xian had told him that Xia Juyo and the Xia family were not on good terms. Otherwise, the corpse emperor would have already made a move to eliminate the other party. Once this 9 underworlds body attained Tao and became a great emperor, his strength would be extremely powerful. He would be far stronger than ordinary great emperors. More importantly, Tin Crown King had corroborated his Tao. His future prospects were limitless. However, with Lin Xian's reminder, the corpse emperor knew that this person would be a huge headache for the Xia family. The great emperor proved his Tao and resisted the lightning of the heavenly Tao. This process would not be short. It could be as little as a few months, or as long as a few years. As such, Lin Xian had plenty of time to comprehend the 4 streams of immortal qi. The 4 great emperors of the Yu clan stood there, not daring to move. This feeling was extremely sullen. Needless to say, they would become the laughingstock of the 9 underworlds. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. The heavenly Tao lightning continued, and Xia Juyo was still resisting it. Lin Xian was also meditating. Another year passed. 2 years had passed. The spectators from afar had all left. More people had to arrive. They were only waiting for the final result. Most likely, the person in front of him was not in any danger. After all, none of the emperors around him dared to make a move. However, they did not know how strong he would become after corroborating his Tao. 3 months later, Xia Juyo roared. Boundless energy from the 9 heavens and 10 earths gathered on his body. Then, it turned into a ball of black flame that surrounded him. The information on Xia Jiangyo's body continued to rise, reaching a new height. This was the aura of a great emperor. The terrifying aura of a great emperor spread out from his body and swept out in all directions. He was the ruler of the world. He had succeeded. Xueqi was overjoyed to see this. The 9 underworld soul also exclaimed, "He really did it?" "Grandpa!" Xia Xingchen exclaimed. Butian and the others also heaved a sigh of relief. 2 years and 3 months had not been easy. Was this the power of a great emperor? Was this the true divine fire? Xia Juyo clenched his fists. He was so excited that he trembled. After waiting for so many years, he had finally broken through and become a great emperor. He punched and kicked in the sky. Each of his attacks contained the power of the divine fire. The great emperors below were dumbfounded. The Southern Spirit Great Emperor and the Mystic Een Great Emperor exclaimed, "How is this possible? He had just attained his Tao. Why did they feel that his strength had surpassed theirs?" This was the power of the Tin Crown King. It was too terrifying after attaining his Tao. The people of the Yu family were also trembling in despair. Yu Tiancheng had recuperated in the past 2 years. However, his strength had not recovered to its peak. He was only a great emperor. At this moment, when he sensed this scene, he coughed out a mouthful of old blood. He was so angry that he fainted again. There was nothing he could do. Under normal circumstances, he should be the one to show his prowess and sweep through the world. But now, he could only be a spectator. What was worse was that he had damaged the foundation of his bloodline when he fought with his life. He probably had no hope of becoming a great emperor in this lifetime. There was no hope. To a martial artist, this was despair. Xia Juyo descended from the sky. He put away the nomological laws and divine fire that filled the sky and came to Lin Xian's side. He was stunned. Lin Gongzi? He saw that Lin Xian seemed to be in the midst of an epiphany. Xueqi gave him a simple explanation. Xia Juyo also frowned. Did Lin Gongzi really want to walk that path? He knew that Lin Xian wanted to walk the divine path and immortal path together. When the time came, it would be 10 times harder for Lin Xian to become a great emperor. He wondered if Lin Xian could succeed. After another 3 months, Lin Xian closed his eyes. A few days later, he exhaled. He said, "It's about time." Old Xia, you've become a great emperor? What a powerful aura." Lin Xian saw Xia Juyo beside him and exclaimed. He could clearly feel that Xia Juyo's aura was too powerful. It was more terrifying than the other great emperors around him, as expected of the 14 Crown King. No wonder countless people were afraid of the 10 Crown King. Once the 10 Crown King broke through and became a great emperor, he would be able to catch up with others. "Young master, can you let us go now?" The Yu family had asked softly. Now, he didn't dare to fight against him at all. Not to mention the corpse emperor with 2 divine fires. Even Lin Xueqi and Xia Juyo were enough to sweep them away. Lin Xian looked at the 4 great emperors of the Yu family. He smiled. "Your immortal qi is of great help to me, so I can let you go." This time, after 2.5 years of watching, Lin Xian felt deeply. So this was what immortal qi was like. It seemed that in the future, his path of cultivating immortal qi would be much smoother. "Thank you, young master." "Thank you, senior." The great emperors of the Yu family quickly bowed and left as if they were escaping. This time, they were really screwed. "Let's go somewhere else to talk." Lin Xian and the others rose into the air and left with the corpse emperor. When they reached a quiet mountain range, Lin Xian asked, "Senior, why are you back? What do you need my help with?" "It's about the Xia family." Speaking of this, the corpse emperor snorted. "It's been going well. But later, I found out that the Xia family didn't do anything to me. They didn't show up because they found a good place. Now, many of the Xia family's experts are deciphering that place. It's said that place is of great help to a great emperor's strength. So, I want you to help me go to that place. Let me recover to my peak. I might even be able to improve further." Chapter 6044. Since the last great battle, the 9 serenities had been closed for more than 1,000,000 years. In these millions of years, it had no contact with the outside world. The 9 serenities contained countless cold auras. In these millions of years, many magical places were formed. Among them, there was a place called the Bone Burial Ground. This place was an ancient battlefield where the great battle took place more than 1,000,000 years ago. In the past, countless experts had fallen here. Later, after 1,000,000 years, this place had become a forest. In the forest, there were dark trees. From time to time, the bones of some experts could be dug out from the ground. There were also some broken rings of holding, all kinds of cracked weapons, and treasures of heaven and earth. There were many demonic beasts in this bone burial ground. Moreover, it was also a place that many cultivators like to come, because here, one might be lucky enough to pick up a treasure. Of course, all of this was talking about the bone burial ground. Outside, very few people could go in, because those who went in had a slim chance of survival. Inside the bone burial ground was a forbidden land of death. At this moment, there was a group of people heading towards the bone burial ground. These people were Lin Xian and the others. Lin Xian followed the corpse emperor here. Along the way, the corpse emperor also told them some things, allowing them to understand that there was an extraordinary place in the burial grounds. It contained a mysterious power that could allow the great emperor to break through again. However, that place was very dangerous. The corpse emperor couldn't go in alone. He thought of Lin Xian. Lin Xian was the successor of the great dragon sword and had invincible power. Perhaps, with the power of the great dragon sword, he could enter that place. Everyone, be careful. There were many demonic beasts here, but there was nothing to be afraid of. However, there was one demonic beast that must not be offended. It was extremely terrifying. What demonic beast? Lin Xian was surprised. It could actually make the great emperor with 2 divine fires so afraid. It was the torch dragon. After hearing this, everyone was also surprised. Dragons were originally bloodlines and extremely terrifying existences. The torch dragon was a dragon that liked to live in dark places. Moreover, this torch dragon had also cultivated 2 strands of immortal qi. It could be said that he was extremely powerful. In this place, the other party was the king, high and mighty. Even the corpse emperor was unwilling to offend the other party. However, there was no need for everyone to be too worried. Zhulong would usually go into deep slumber to cultivate under normal circumstances. As long as it wasn't a particularly earth-shattering battle, it shouldn't be alarmed. As they spoke, they suppressed their auras. Some of the demonic beasts they encountered along the way were instantly killed by them. The lineup of these people was extremely terrifying. There were 4 great emperors, and one of them had 2 divine flames. Thus, no one had been able to stand in his way. Finally, they entered the depths of the land of bones. The corpse emperor heaved a sigh of relief and said, "We are lucky that we didn't meet Torch Dragon this time." They continued walking forward, and before long, they came to a halt. They discovered that there was a figure lying before them. The blood even converged into a sea of blood, which emitted a rumbling sound. It turned out to be a demonic beast. Its body was huge, more than 500 meters long. Its body was covered with extremely frightening black scales, giving it a sinister appearance. From the looks of it, it should be a rhinoceros. Moreover, it was a rhinoceros that had reached the quasi-emperor level. Such an existence had boundless strength. But now, it was split in half by someone's saber. It seemed to have been killed in one move. What a terrifying saber technique. Is someone already here? Xueqi glanced at it and said with a frown. The corpse emperor also frowned. It seems to be someone from the Xia family. I also followed the Xia family and found this place. Hearing this, Xia Juyo walked over and carefully sensed it. He said, "From this saber technique, I can indeed feel a trace of bloodline aura. It should be someone from the Xia family, and it should be someone at the great emperor level. Let's go, let's speed up." Next, the group of people moved forward quickly. But before long, they encountered another demonic beast. It was also at the quasi-emperor level, and it was split in half by someone's saber. In a short time, they encountered another 3 demonic beasts. It seemed that the person who came was in front of them. "Everyone, be careful," Lin Xian reminded them. After all, the Xia family was an existence that was even more terrifying than the Yu family. This was a family that had existed for more than 1,000,000 years. Its strength and foundation were ridiculously strong. The group sped up again. Finally, they arrived at a deeper place. There was a lake here. The lake was the largest. It was as big as an ancient city. The surface of the lake was calm, without any ripples. It was like a sapphire embedded in the earth. I can feel an unusual aura. When Xueqi looked at the lake, she frowned deeply. The corpse emperor said, "You're right. The treasure I mentioned is in this lake." "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go quickly." Let's seize the treasure and leave quickly. The nine nether souls said. The corpse emperor glanced at him and said, Little ant, you're too naive. As he spoke, the corpse emperor waved his hand and caught a demonic beast from afar. This demonic beast was also at the quasi-emperor level. At this moment, it was trembling in fear. The corpse emperor threw this demonic beast into the lake. With a splash, the beast dived into the lake and sank to the bottom in an instant. Lin Xian and the others all arrived near the lake and looked down. Then, they all sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Although a quasi-emperor level demonic beast was not as strong as them, it was still extremely powerful and terrifying. Logically speaking, not to mention falling into a lake, even if it fell into the abyss of the universe, it should be able to crawl out. However, after this demonic beast fell into the lake, it did not resist at all. It was as if the laws on its body were instantly extinguished. Then, this demonic beast sank to the bottom of the lake and disappeared. It was so terrifying. The nine nether soul trembled in fear. If he had jumped into the lake just now, he would have probably died. What a strange lake. Xueqi waved her hand, and the nine mysterious ice appeared. She wanted to freeze the lake. However, when her ice power entered the lake, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. There was no reaction at all. This was impossible, right? Xueqi was completely stunned. She possessed the nine body. How powerful and terrifying was she? There was nothing that she could not freeze. Unexpectedly, this lake did not form any ice. Not only that, Xia Juyo also tried. He struck out with his palm, and the terrifying palm entered the lake. However, as soon as he entered the lake, he felt that his laws had instantly disappeared. It was so strange. Xia Juyo was also shocked. He sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Although he had just become a great emperor, he was a great emperor who had become a 10-crown king. His strength was very powerful. However, now, it made her hair stand on end. The corpse emperor said, You all have seen it. This lake is very strange. Even if a great emperor-level power enters it, it will not be of any use. So, as of now, there is nothing I can do. The Xia family was also helpless. Boy, you have the power of the great dragon sword. It is invincible. Give it a try. Can your sword energy enter the lake? Hearing this, Xueqi and the others also looked at Lin Xian. Chapter 60:45. Lin Xian took a deep breath, raised his hand, and struck out a dragon-shaped sword energy. It flew into the lake. This time, there were finally ripples. Great, it was indeed useful. As expected of the great dragon sword soul, the corpse emperor and the others were delighted. However, Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. The reason for that was because he sensed that the dragon-shaped sword aura had flown into the lake. He felt an extremely mysterious force suppressing it. It was as if it had entered a quagmire and could no longer move. Lin Xian snorted coldly and continued to push more power into the lake. The sword energy seemed to have turned into a divine dragon, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it continued to attack. However, after traveling for a while, it completely disappeared. Lin Xian stood up, frowning. Husband, how is it? Xueqi asked. The corpse emperor also said, Boy, can you do it? We'll give you all our power and activate the great dragon sword soul. Lin Xian shook his head. I'm afraid not. I tried it just now, but this lake is bottomless. Even if we attack together, I'm afraid we can only split open a part of the space. We can't go any further. We have to find out what's strange about this lake. To be honest, Lin Xian was very surprised. The great dragon sword soul was invincible and successful. It was rare to meet a force that could restrain it. But now, there was someone in this lake who could suppress the power of the great dragon sword soul. Of course, Lin Xian felt that he was still not strong enough. After all, the great dragon sword soul at its peak back then shocked the entire ninth underworld. Even so, it was still very shocking. At least for the great emperor level, this lake had an absolute suppression. Big brother, the terrain here is so strange. At this moment, Bu Tian spoke. Lin Xian was stunned. The corpse emperor also said, You're just a little kid. What do you know? In the corpse emperor's eyes, Bu Tian's cultivation was very high. However, he was like a small ant. However, Lin Xian said, Senior, don't underestimate him. He's the grandson of the Heavenly Master. Perhaps he knew something about it. Oh, Heavenly Master? The corpse emperor stared blankly for a moment before his eyes lit up. Even the way he looked at Bu Tian had changed. The Heavenly Master knew how to make use of the transcendent power of the world. His strength was extremely terrifying and mysterious. However, as far as I know, no Heavenly Master has appeared in the ninth serenity for tens of thousands of years. Which celestial master's descendant was he? Lin Xian shook his head. We don't know either. He briefly recounted what had happened. That Heavenly Master seemed to be mentally unstable. Furthermore, something had drilled into his body and taken control of him. The corpse emperor sighed. Heavenly Masters are very scary. Few people can resist them at the same level. In fact, he could even fight against many powerhouses of the same level by himself. However, there was a price to pay. It was said that in the later years of the Heavenly Master's life, red hair would grow on his body. He turned into a monster that was neither human nor ghost. Who would have thought that the legend was true? As for who was the mastermind behind this, the corpse emperor didn't know either. Perhaps no one else knew. Little guy, look at this place. What's different about it? The corpse emperor looked at Bu Tian. Lin Xian also said, Don't be nervous. Tell us as much as you know. No one will blame you if you're wrong. Bu Tian nodded, and his little face relaxed a little. Then, he began to walk around the lake. Xia Xingqian was curious as well. She followed beside him. Hey, what did you find? Tell me. After circling the entire lake, Bu Tian stopped. He took a deep breath and said, Big brother, there is an array in this lake, and it's an extremely terrifying array. Array? Lin Xian was surprised. The others were also shocked. They were all great emperors. However, they didn't find the existence of the array. From this, one could imagine how terrifying that spirit formation was. The corpse emperor asked, Is there really an array? Bin Huang didn't find it either. Lin Xian opened his rinnegan, but he was also at his wit's end. Wasn't this formation a little too sinister? Bu Tian said, I have also cultivated the tomes of arcane. When I was young, my grandfather once told me that some arrays are formed naturally and are very terrifying. For some powerful formation masters, they would be able to make slight changes to these naturally formed formations to make them even more frightening and mysterious. There is indeed an array here, but I can't tell if it's natural or modified by someone. If my grandfather was here, he would definitely know. Speaking of this, Bu Tian's expression became a little gloomy. He didn't know how his grandfather was. Lin Xian patted him on the shoulder and said, Don't worry, your grandfather will be fine. Moreover, you are already very outstanding. So many great emperors didn't find the array, but you can find it at a glance. You will definitely be a great Taoist master in the future. Is that true? Bu Tian raised his head, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Xia Juyo next to him said, If it's a natural array, it can only be said that this lake is the creation of heaven and earth. It was extremely mysterious. However, if it was a spirit formation that had been modified by someone, then that person would be too terrifying. It was very likely that it was done by a Taoist master. What on earth was here? There was an array more powerful than the great emperors. What secret was hidden in this lake? Everyone had doubts in their hearts. Knowing that it was an array, they began to surround the lake and began to study it. Were there any clues? Lin Xian also used his rinnegan with all his strength. One of his eyes bloomed with light, enveloping the entire lake. At first, there was nothing. However, after looking at it for a while, he clearly felt that his soul shook, as if it was being sucked away by something. This gave him a fright. What was going on? In the next moment, he felt that he seemed to have sunk into the lake, and the surrounding light instantly darkened. What the hell? Even though Lin Xian had the battle strength of a great emperor and had experienced hundreds of battles, he was still shocked. But at this moment, his hair stood on end. One must know that this lake could extinguish all the power of a great emperor. Even the great dragon sword soul couldn't use its full strength here. However, Lin Xian found that his soul could swim in it. What's going on? It shouldn't be. Even the sword energy of the law disappeared inside. He couldn't resist at all. However, his soul could swim in it. It was too incredible. Could it be because of the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation? Husband, what's wrong with you? Husband. At this moment, Xueqi began to shake. Lin Xian's body, and an anxious voice sounded. Lin Xian felt that his soul was about to disappear in the lake. In the next moment, he came back to his senses. His body trembled, and he turned his head to look. What's wrong? Husband, what's going on with you just now? Why didn't you respond when I called you? And why was your Rinnegan dim just now? Is it really the Rinnegan? Lin Xian was stunned. Just now, his soul had entered the lake together with his Rinnegan. Could it be that the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation could break this array? Lin Xian was too surprised. However, he was still not sure. He said, I was exploring the lake just now, and I didn't pay attention to anything else. What happened? Xueqi said, there are sounds of fighting over there. Moreover, it's a battle between great emperors. Do you want to go over and take a look? Chapter 6046. Lin Xian wasn't sure what had happened when his soul entered the lake. Did he really go in? Or was it just an illusion? So, he didn't say anything. He asked Xueqi, what happened? Xueqi pointed into the distance and said, there's a battle between great emperors. Lin Xian sensed it and then frowned. What a terrifying battle. And there's more than one great emperor. Let's go over and take a look. They hid their auras and quietly merged into the void. Then, they flew over. Soon, they saw that there was indeed a battle in front of them. Both sides were great emperors. However, they controlled the laws of immortal qi in their bodies very well. They only covered a small area and didn't expand it. One of the figures in the battle was actually a dragon. The dragon's blue scales were blooming with a cold light. There were 2 strands of immortal qi around the dragon's body. It looked like an immortal dragon from the 9th heaven, which surprised Lin Xian and the others. After the corpse emperor saw it, he said, he is the torch dragon that I mentioned. Those people opposite him should be from the Yu family. They didn't expect to meet the torch dragon. They were unlucky. The torch dragon was facing a group of about a dozen people. The leader was a tall old man, who also had 2 strands of immortal qi. Next to him was a middle-aged great emperor with a strand of immortal qi. The figures behind him were all quasi-emperors. At this moment, they were all on high alert. The torch dragon snorted. You Xia family people are really reckless. Why are you here again? Fellow Taoist, you've been here for tens of thousands of years, but you still can't get in. Cooperate with the Xia family. We have a way to get into the lake. If your Earth Immortal can come out, it might be possible, but millions of years ago, your Earth Immortal was seriously injured and is still in a deep sleep. Where does the Xia family get the strength to get in? It's none of your business. You just need to turn a blind eye. When we get in, we'll give you a part of the treasures. What do you think? The torch dragon thought for a while and said, okay, I'll trust the Xia family again. After all, the Xia family's foundation is extraordinary. Maybe these people really have a way. After saying that, the torch dragon's figure flashed, turned into the ground, and disappeared. At the next moment, a thunderous sound was heard. From the looks of it, Zhulong should have entered seclusion and begun cultivating. After some time, when the Xia family came again, he would wake up. Great, this guy is finally leaving. The martial monarchs with 2 wisps of immortal qi grinned. Let's go. He waved his hand. This man was a top expert of the Xia clan, named Xia Kuangsha. At this moment, he was flying towards the lake with his men. Oh no, they're coming. Let's push them aside. The corpse emperor and the others quickly retreated, still concealing their auras. Xia Kuangsha brought his people to the lakeside and landed. Their eyes flickered. Many people were holding blood-colored flags in their hands, and they placed them beside the lake to form a circle. Those blood-colored flags blossomed with a mysterious radiance, and there were laws hanging down. In an instant, The entire lake released a mysterious glow, and the illusion of a formation appeared in the surroundings. There really was a formation. Lin Xian and the others, who were hiding in the dark, exclaimed after seeing it. They didn't expect the Xia clan to also know about the existence of a formation. It wasn't simple. Grandpa, are they from the Xia clan? Xia Xingchen looked ahead curiously. At this moment, Xia Guangsha, who was in front, frowned. He turned his head and shouted coldly, "Who's there? Get out here." Upon hearing this, the powerhouses of the Xia family all made their moves and collected all the blood-colored flags. Then, they took out their swords and sabers, and the laws on their bodies erupted, as if they were facing a great enemy. Is that Torch Dragon back? Humph, it seems that we've been discovered. Let's go out then. Without the Torch Dragon, the Corpse Emperor wasn't afraid of the Xia clan. His figure flashed, and he walked out, followed by Lin Xian and the others. In the next instant, they appeared in the void. It's you, the guy who won't leave. Do you think you can challenge the Xia clan alone? When Xia Guangsha saw the Corpse Emperor, he snorted coldly. He also knew this person, who had injured the great emperor of his clan before. He had also killed several experts. He didn't expect the other party to follow him here. Since you've seen the secret of the lake, you can go to hell. And these people behind you, none of them will live. Attack. After saying that, he snorted coldly, and a big hand grabbed at the Corpse Emperor. At the same time, the experts behind him all moved, and they attacked Lin Xian and the others. The battle was about to break out in an instant. The Corpse Emperor sneered and also made a move. The two collided, and the surroundings were shattered. As for the other experts of the Xia family, they let out miserable shrieks. The great emperor of the Xia clan was sent flying, and he vomited blood. How is this possible? Xia Guangsha's expression changed, and he looked at Lin Xian and the others in surprise. You are? Lin Xian smiled, and a powerful aura was released from his body. Great Emperor. And there was more than one. Damn it, you found help. He stared at the Corpse Emperor. That's right. The Corpse Emperor smiled and said, So, this time, you will definitely lose. He turned to Lin Xian and the others and said, Don't hold back. We can't let them go back. Otherwise, our news will spread to the Xia clan, and then a large number of experts will come. Understood. Lin Xian and the others nodded, and then they rushed over. The great emperor of the Xia clan stared at Xia Juyo and said, I'll kill this old man first. Kill these two young people. Even if the other party was a great emperor, so what? He was the great emperor of the Xia clan, and his strength was far beyond others. So, he rushed over in an instant. An extremely terrifying netherworld aura burst out from his body. The endless great Tao seemed to be able to cut through everything. Xia Juyo roared and performed the 9 Serenities song, which turned into a murderous aura and began to bombard. The great emperor at the front was forced to retreat continuously. He roared crazily. Who are you? Who are you? Why do you know the unique skill of the Xia clan? Damn it, 9 Serenities song. The great emperor of the Xia clan also roared and unleashed his ultimate skill, the Song of the 9 Serenities. The song broke through the 9 heavens, and it was extremely terrifying. However, Xia Juyo shook his head slightly. Your bloodline is not good enough. A trace of disdain appeared in his eyes, and this made the great emperor vomit blood in anger. My bloodline is not good enough? He was a great emperor. How could his bloodline not be good enough? Die. Along with the endless mysterious voice, he quickly rushed over. Boom, boom, boom. The two collided. Xia Juyo performed his 9 Serenities body, and an unparalleled power burst out. Instantly, the great emperor was smashed into pieces. This great emperor was severely injured. He seemed to have discovered something and roared in horror. Your bloodline is actually the Xia clan's bloodline. Who are you? Who are you? Xia Guangsha's expression also changed. He turned his head and stared at Xia Juyo. What a pure bloodline aura. He asked coldly, What's your relationship with the Xia clan? Chapter 6047. What does it matter? Humph, you can guess it yourself. Xia Juyo said coldly. Damn it, this guy is too arrogant. Xia Guangsha was so angry that his face turned gloomy. He said to the people behind him, use the 9 underworlds formation to attack him. The people behind him moved quickly, with the great emperors taking the lead. Some black flags appeared on their bodies and started to flutter non-stop. They formed a super formation. Using the boundless 9 underworlds power, they charged towards Xia Juyo. Cheer, go and help him, Lin Xian said. He didn't move. Instead, he stared at Xia Guangsha. This was a truly difficult opponent to deal with. He absolutely couldn't let him escape. Xia Juyo's 9 underworlds blade enveloped him. His 9 underworlds body shone brightly again. He swept his attacks in all directions. The formation was shaking non-stop. Xueqi also made her move. Terrifying ice power danced in the air. She also had a super strong body. When the 2 divine bodies attacked together, the opponent's formation couldn't resist at all. It was shaking non-stop. Those people were all sealed in ice. The great emperor in the lead coughed up blood and retreated. A lot of frost appeared on his body. Even worse, his body was pierced through by Xia Juyo's attack. He let out a miserable cry. At the same time, he cried out in alarm, I know, your bloodline is the 9 underworlds body. You actually have the 9 underworlds body. Just as this voice finished roaring, he was sealed in ice. After Xia Guangsha heard that, he suddenly turned his head and stared at Xia Juyo. You actually have the 9 underworlds body. Damn it, why didn't I think of that? Those who possessed such a bloodline should be the legendary physique. But why are you here? Clearly, all of this was beyond Xia Guangsha's expectations. However, he couldn't care less. He had to suppress his opponent first, bring him back to his clan, and slowly interrogate him. Thinking of this, he roared. His black hair fluttered wildly. 2 strands of black immortal energy flew out of his body and soared into the sky. The entire sky turned into a black ocean. It was as if it was going to suppress heaven and earth. A palm fell from the black sky and struck towards Xia Juyo. Xia Juyo roared. Xueqi also tried her best to block it. However, the 2 of them were still forced back. He didn't die, as expected of the legendary physique. Xia Guangsha was also shocked. Under normal circumstances, with his 2 strands of immortal qi, it would be very easy for him to kill someone with only 1 strand of immortal qi. However, his opponent managed to block it. When he wanted to attack again, the corpse emperor flew over and cut off heaven and earth. He said, You think I don't exist? After he finished speaking, a metallic glow appeared on his body. Then, he quickly rushed over and fought with Xia Guangsha. Lin Xian also said, Get rid of him. Don't let him escape. When they rushed over together, the pressure on Xia Guangsha immediately increased. Originally, his strength was about the same as that of the corpse emperor. Now that Lin Xian was added to the mix, the 3 of them instantly put him at a disadvantage. Damn it, you're all courting death. Xia Guangsha roared, I'll kill you first. He stared at Lin Xian and threw a punch at him. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly and slashed out with the immortal slaying sword. A terrifying sword light shrouded heaven and earth, resisting the opponent head-on. He was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, he quickly rushed over again. How could it be? A mere quasi-emperor didn't die. He was even more shocked. Xia Juyo could block it because his opponent had a strand of divine fire and a mysterious physique. However, this kid wasn't a great emperor. How could he block it? Lin Xian said, as expected of a powerhouse with 2 strands of immortal qi. You're really strong. However, it's impossible for you to kill me. After he finished speaking, he rushed over and merged with Xueqi's 9 yin and 9 yang. The 2 of them launched a super powerful attack. Damn it, you also have a divine body. Xia Guangsha went crazy. He found that these 3 people all had super powerful physiques under the starry sky. In addition, there was a great emperor who was not weaker than him. He couldn't fight this battle anymore. Just wait. He turned around and left. You want to leave? Lin Xian and Xueqi flew over and merged with 9 yin and 9 yang to launch an attack. However, they still couldn't stop the other party. The 2 of them were knocked back. After the corpse emperor went up, he wanted to stop them. However, he still couldn't do it. It was very difficult to kill the other party at the same level. It was also very difficult to stop the other party. This was because the immortal qi on Xia Kuangsha's body kept erupting and boiling. Obviously, the other party wanted to go all out. Lin Xian transmitted his voice, hit him into the lake. The corpse emperor moved quickly after hearing that. His palms were like divine iron. With a light wave, heaven and earth collapsed. He had turned himself into a divine weapon. He hit Xia Kuangsha and forced him to retreat. However, Xia Kuangsha roared, "It's useless. I've already seen through your little tricks. I won't fall into the lake." Damn it. The corpse emperor's face was cold. However, at this moment, Lin Xian attacked. He merged with Xue Qi and launched 9 yin and 9 yang. They hit the other party. "It's useless. You two just wait. After I leave, I'll kill you first." Xia Kuangsha gritted his teeth and roared. He was so strong. Xue Qi furrowed her brows. However, Lin Xian said, "Don't hold back. Use all your trump cards." After saying that, he waved his hand, and a crown appeared, about to swallow the other party. "Get lost." Xia Kuangsha punched open the black hole. However, at this moment, the Vajra rings flew over and hit him. His body swayed, and he landed on the ground. How is this possible? How can he have so many magical treasures? Before he finished thinking, Xia Jiryo arrived. 9 Nether Song. He used his super powerful bloodline to affect the other party, causing the other party's soul to be somewhat disturbed. At this moment, Xue Qi attacked with the 9 Nether Sword. As the sword slashed down, a black sword shadow appeared. It was as if an ancient god had come back to life. Xia Kuangsha was sent flying. Although there were no cracks on his body, his qi and blood were still surging. He was dumbfounded. This sword was the legendary 9 Nether Sword. "You even have such a divine weapon? Damn it. Who are you?" He wanted to run away. He was a little scared now. However, Lin Xian roared and took out the great dragon sword soul. He slashed with the sword, and a dragon's roar resounded through heaven and earth. An invincible power descended. This time, a wound appeared on Xia Kuangsha's body. This made him even more shocked. His strength was far superior to the other parties. Logically speaking, even a great emperor with a strand of immortal energy couldn't injure him. However, the other party was able to injure him. It was unbelievable. He attacked again. Lin Xian and the others attacked again. Xia Kuangsha was sent flying. At this moment, the corpse emperor suddenly attacked. He arrived behind Xia Kuangsha and said coldly, "Goodbye." Boom. He slapped Xia Kuangsha's back with his palm. Xia Kuangsha fell down like a kite with a broken string. He roared crazily. However, the combined attack of these people was too terrifying. He was sent into the lake. Gurgle, gurgle. Many bubbles emerged from the lake. Xia Kuangsha struggled, trying to escape. However, he was soon enveloped by a mysterious power. He felt that all the strength in his body was disappearing. Then, he sank to the bottom of the lake and disappeared. In the end, those bubbles disappeared. Lin Xian and the others landed. Their scalps were numb. They had experienced Xia Kuangsha's strength. They had so many people and used all their trump cards, but they only managed to injure him. They hadn't killed him yet. One could only imagine how terrifying the other party was. However, such a person couldn't escape after falling into the lake. Could it be that only Earth immortals could enter the lake? However, the corpse emperor said, "Let's leave here first. This lake is too strange." Moreover, the battle just now would probably alarm the torch dragon. Although he was pessimistic, he still had a part of his soul outside. "Let's go." Lin Xian waved his hand and took out the sky-swallowing jar. He covered all the people who were frozen and took them away. The next moment, they rose into the air. Not long after he left, sure enough, a dragon head poked out from the ground. What's going on? Why do I feel that someone is fighting? Puzzled, he looked around him. Chapter 6048. Zhu Long was very confused. He did feel the aura of a battle. However, the person had disappeared. This was really strange. What were the people of the Xia family doing? After thinking for a while, he stopped paying attention. After all, the Xia family had Xia Kuangsha, a great emperor who had cultivated 2 strands of immortal qi. It was impossible. What kind of situation would happen? Therefore, Zhu Long took a look around and left. He didn't know that Xia Kuangsha, who he trusted, had been beaten into the lake by Lin Xian and the others and had completely sunk. As for the other people of the Xia family, they had also been suppressed and taken away by Lin Xian and the others. They came to another place. Lin Xian and the others released the people of the Xia family. These people were still frozen in the frost. Lin Xian and the others began to collect the souls. Soon, they furrowed their brows tightly. The Xia family was preparing to hold a party to recruit countless top families and sects around. They planned to share the matter of this mysterious lake. That's impossible. This is too strange. Xia Jiuyo frowned. When Xia Kuangsha met us, he wanted to kill us to prevent the news from leaking out. But why? Why did he want to share it now? The corpse emperor also said that there must be a demon when things are abnormal. Lin Xian thought for a while and said, it should be related to the array. I guess with the strength of the Xia family, they shouldn't be able to break this array. He wanted to gather the strength of other families and sects to break this array together. Everyone nodded. They felt that this idea was very reliable. Then what should they do next? Lin Xian smiled. Of course, they should go to the Xia family and participate in this party. This way, they could pay close attention to what the Xia family was doing. After making up their minds, they suppressed the people of the Xia family again. Then, they prepared to go to the party. At the same time, an angry roar came from the Xia family. Several young people were holding a soul pagoda. At this moment, the soul pagoda was already dim. This was the pagoda that contained the soul of the great emperor. This soul pagoda was shining, which meant that their great emperor was still alive. At this moment, one of the soul pagoda was extinguished. Furthermore, this was actually Xia Kuangsha's soul pagoda. Did this mean that Xia Kuangsha was dead? The Xia family could not accept it. Xia Kuangsha was an expert with 2 strands of immortal energy. How could he possibly die so easily? No one would be able to kill him. The leader of the Xia family sat in the main hall. He looked down and said coldly, who can tell me? What was going on? Where did Xia Kuangsha go? His voice was incomparably cold, causing the surrounding people to tremble. The elders of the Xia family were frowning as well. To be honest, they weren't sure either. Among them, the great elder said, reporting to the clan leader, Xia Kuangsha was following orders to go to the lake in the Bone Forest. Could it be that it was the torch dragon who did it? Damn it, that Zhulong was too arrogant. Did he really think that the Xia family would not dare to touch him? At this moment, the second elder walked out and said, no, it shouldn't be. We have investigated, and the 19th elder's soul is still there. He was also one of the great emperors who went with Xia Kuangsha. If it was the torch dragon who did it, they would have been wiped out. Why was it that only Xia Kuangsha's soul was extinguished, while the other souls were still there? This meant that the others were still alive. Go, head to the White Bone Forest and investigate what's going on. Did the torch dragon do it? Or did someone else do it secretly? Also, find out what happened to the lake. Report this information to me as soon as possible. Do you hear me? He shouted angrily. The people of the Xia family quickly nodded and headed to the burial ground. The leader of the Xia family raised his head and looked at the great elder. He said in a deep voice, have you sent out the invitations? 10 days later, I want the gathering to be held as scheduled. These things can't delay the gathering. That's because this is our one and only chance. The great elder said, don't worry, clan leader. We have already informed those families and sections. Moreover, with the magic of the creation celestial pool, those families won't refuse. That's good. The creation celestial pool contains a mysterious power that can improve our strength. Maybe we can use it to awaken our ancestor. Speaking of this, they were all excited. Their ancestor was naturally an earth immortal. The great battle millions of years ago had injured their ancestor and made him sleep until now. However, They had to awaken their ancestor and use his power to sweep through the 9 serenities again. Next, they were looking forward to reopening the 9 serenities. They were going to go to the universe again and conquer the world. The news of the Xia family's banquet spread. All the major families and sects received the news. At the same time, they also learned about the creation celestial pool. What? There was a celestial pool that had the power to make a great emperor breakthrough. These top-notch clans all had emperor realm existences within them. They hadn't made a breakthrough for many years. At this moment, how could they not be excited when they heard the news? Therefore, they all went to the Xia family. Lin Xian and the others also went to the Xia family. Among them, the corpse emperor wore a loose black robe that hid his face. Xia Jiuyou and Xia Xingqian also hid their bloodlines. Lin Xian even used the heaven-devouring jar to form a black vortex armor that covered their bodies. After all, it would be troublesome if their bloodline resonated with the Xia family this time. Fortunately, the heaven-devouring jar was very mysterious. As long as Xia Jiuyou didn't take the initiative to attack, he shouldn't be able to discover it. Soon, they arrived at the Xia family's territory. The place where the Xia family was located was called Emperor Mountain. The name was very domineering. The place was filled with the aura of a great emperor. It was incomparably sacred. Countless people didn't dare to fly when they came here. Instead, they all landed at the foot of the mountain. They wanted to climb the mountain on foot. This was a respect to the Xia family. Who dared to fly here? That was to challenge the Xia family. They would be pierced by the Xia family's peerless experts with an arrow. The Xia family had an extreme weapon called the Eternal Night Bow. It was extremely terrifying and powerful. There was once an arrogant great emperor who flew on Emperor Mountain and challenged the Xia family. In the end, he was pierced by the Xia family's Eternal Night Bow. The great emperor's blood stained the mountain. It was very tragic and shocked the entire 9 serenities. Since then, no one dared to come to Emperor Mountain and behave atrociously. There were many mountains and valleys around Emperor Mountain. There were many palaces and pavilions. These people temporarily stayed here, waiting for the Xia family's banquet to begin. Lin Xian and the others arrived and walked towards the valley ahead. There were many villas there. Lin Xian and the others decided to stay here first. Butian and Xia Xingqian blinked and exclaimed, "It's so scary. There are so many experts here." "Grandpa, I can sense the information of the great emperors. They're not worth mentioning." Xia Jiuyou also said, "Don't release your bloodline aura. This is the Xia family's territory. We can't expose our identities now." Xia Xingqian nodded. Xia Jiuyou and the others were also shocked. Indeed, there were many great emperors who came this time. There were even great emperors who cultivated 2 strands of immortal qi. However, there were no earth immortals yet. After all, there were too few of them. These people wouldn't appear unless it was the most important moment. In the valley, there was a villa called the Second Villa. It was well decorated and the environment was elegant. It was very suitable for living here. When Lin Xian and the others walked in, the little maid in the villa came to receive them. However, at this moment, a young man frowned and stared at Butian. The next moment he sneered, "Little thing, I finally found you." A chilling, killing intent was released from his body, and it swept towards Butian. Butian was startled. "It's you." His expression changed. Chapter 6049. What's going on? Lin Xian asked. Butian said, "He's the disciple of the Sword Martial Emperor." The young man in front was called the Storm Sword Saint. His sword energy was terrifying. He looked at Butian and said, "Kid, how dare you steal from my master? You must be tired of living. Hand over the sarcophagus and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, you'll wish you were dead when my master comes." Butian snorted, "That's not yours. I picked it up. You just want to take it. Little thing, I gave you face, but you don't want it, do you? Do I have to personally suppress you before you'll obediently tell me the truth?" The Storm Sword Saint sneered. He flicked his finger and a sword energy flew out. However, Lin Xian waved his hand and shattered the sword energy. The next moment, he said lightly, That sarcophagus is mine now. Come at me. You? The storm sword saint stared at Lin Xian again. He sneered, Kid, who are you? Don't you know that my master wants the sarcophagus? My master is the sword martial emperor. He's a master of swordsmanship and extremely powerful. He's famous among the great emperors. Do you dare to challenge him? Kneel down and hand over the sarcophagus. I'll spare your life. Is this guy crazy? Lin Xian and the others ignored him and walked into the villa. Give us a secluded yard. Who dares? The storm sword saint snorted and said to the people of the second villa, He's my master's enemy. My master is the sword martial emperor. Do you want to die? Do you dare to let them in? Hearing this, the manager of the second villa walked out and said, Sorry, please go to another villa. Lin Xian laughed when he heard that. The Nine Serenities soul also said, Sword martial emperor, who do you think you are? How dare you be arrogant in front of me? Only your master didn't come. If he came, we could kill him with one slap. Now, he did have the arrogance to say these words. Lin Xian and the others were stronger than the sword martial emperor. Not to mention, the corpse emperor was here as well. A mere great emperor was nothing in their eyes. You dare to challenge my master? The storm sword saint was furious. Tell me, how do you want to die? Teach him a lesson. Lin Xian said with a frown. The Nine Serenities spirit rushed over and slapped the sword saint of storm to the ground. He said coldly, Trash like you dares to block our way? The storm sword saint's bones were all broken. He fell to the ground and roared, You're dead. I'll call my master. I want him to destroy all of you. There were still some people in the villa who cried out in surprise when they saw this scene. Wasn't this the disciple of the sword martial monarch? Who dared to challenge the sword martial emperor? Who was so reckless? He dared to hit the disciple of the great emperor. Another man walked out of the villa. This man's aura was terrifying. He had reached the boundary emperor realm. The sword energy on his body was even more terrifying than the Nine Serenities spirits. He thrust his sword at the Nine Serenities spirit. The Nine Serenities spirit retreated in fear. However, Xueqi made a move at this moment. She waved her hand, and frost filled the sky and froze the sword energy in an instant. Even the swordsman who attacked her was frozen. Everyone exclaimed, What a terrifying aura! This woman is too powerful. She's so beautiful. Which family does she belong to? Countless voices of discussion could be heard. Someone was terrified. Why do I feel that this woman has the aura of a great emperor? Who dares to attack my husband? I'll kill him. Xueqi waved her hand and froze the swordsman who attacked her into an ice sculpture. He was dead. Countless people exclaimed. The sword saint of storm was also dumbfounded. You actually killed my senior brother? You crazy woman. My master will definitely not let you off. The people around also exclaimed. Who is that kid? Which family is he from? He married a great emperor. It's unbelievable. The shopkeeper of the second villa was also stunned. He couldn't afford to offend the sword martial emperor. However, he couldn't afford to offend the woman in front of him, either. Just as Zhang Xian was at a loss as to what to do, another massive being suddenly descended from the sky. This gigantic creature was a demonic beast with an extremely terrifying aura. It descended like a demon god. It said coldly, Those who have nothing to do with this, get out of here. I've taken a liking to this villa. Its loud voice made everyone's scalp tingle. No one in the villa was so arrogant. They looked outside. In the next moment, they exclaimed, The Nine Serenities beast. It's a great Emperor level 9 Serenities beast. This is an extremely terrifying being. We can't afford to offend it. Retreat. Countless people retreated in fear. Some of them even saluted. Greetings, Lord Nine Serenities beast. The Nine Serenities beast was very satisfied with this scene. He raised his head and said, Kneel to the side. The people on both sides made way for him. Seeing this scene, the storm sword saint also exclaimed, It's Lord Nine Serenities beast. Greetings, Lord Nine Serenities. I'm the disciple of the sword martial emperor. The sword martial emperor? Oh, has that kid's swordsmanship improved recently? The Nine Serenities beast said like an old man. Although he was young, his status was extraordinary. Even if he faced other great emperors, he would not spare them a glance. The Storm Sword Saint said, "Master swordsmanship has been improving. It's unfathomable. I can only look up to it. However, someone killed my senior brother. I'm sure my master will be angry." Oh, the Nine Serenities beast was surprised. Who dared to kill the Sword Martial Emperor's disciple? It's her. It's this woman. They all deserve to die. The Storm Sword Saint pointed at Xueqi and the others and gritted his teeth. He really hoped that the Nine Serenities beast would attack them. Let me see whose courting death has come to Emperor Mountain. The Nine Serenities beast lowered his head. When he saw Xueqi, he was stunned. When he saw Lin Xian, his expression changed. "It's you." Like a frightened cat, he jumped to his feet. "It's you." Lin Xian also smiled. This Nine Serenities beast wasn't someone else. It was the Nine Serenities beast that the old Heavenly Master had summoned in the Ninth Peak. They had fought before, but the Heavenly Master was no match for him. He had been beaten until he was scared. "It's Lin Gongzi. Long time no see. Greetings, young master." The Nine Serenities beast bowed respectfully to Lin Xian. The surrounding people were all stunned. The sword in the Storm Sword Saint's hand fell to the ground. He was so scared that his body trembled. How is this possible? The Nine Serenities beast didn't care about his master at all. Its strength was terrifying. Since when did it bow to anyone? But now, the Nine Serenities beast was bowing to a young man. And this young man was his enemy. What kind of person did he offend? The other people were also discussing, "This young man is indeed extraordinary. How can he be an ordinary person if he can marry a great emperor?" Look, even the Nine Serenities beast bowed to him. Who exactly is he? Is he a young master of the Xia family? No, the Xia family can't be here. Which family does he belong to? Countless guesses were heard. Chapter 60-50. You even bowed to me? I thought you were going to help the Sword Martial Emperor kill me. Lin Xian said coldly. Hearing this, the Nine Serenity beast shook its head. Why would I do that? Young master, how would I dare to fight you? As for the Sword Martial Emperor, that idiot, what kind of disciple did he teach? The Nine Serenity beast lowered its head. 2 balls of Nine Serenity fire appeared in its eyes. It flew towards the Storm Sword Saint. The Storm Sword Saint kept kowtowing. Don't kill me. Give my master some face, okay? Please, spare my life. However, the 2 balls of fire didn't turn him into ashes. What was the Sword Martial Emperor? Whoever dared to fight against the young master would die. Even if the Sword Martial Emperor came, he would have to lower his head in front of the young master. The 9 Netherworld beasts' voice rang out, causing countless people to be even more shocked. They all looked at Lin Xian and kept guessing. Who is this young man? Young master, please. The 9 Serenity beast led the way. Lin Xian and the others walked towards the second villa. The shopkeeper and the others were already trembling in fear. He came to Lin Xian and kept bowing. Young master, I'm sorry. I was blind. I didn't know you were coming. Please forgive me for my negligence. It's okay. The ignorant are not guilty. You can all leave. I want to be alone for a while. Very quickly, the shopkeepers and the young maidservants in the surroundings all left. Lin Xian and the others asked for a quiet courtyard. The 9 Serenity Beast's palace was next to it. He said, Young master, are you also here for the Xia family's banquet? The Fortune Celestial Pool was really attractive. Lin Xian heard and asked, What is the Fortune Celestial Pool? The 9 Serenity Beast was stunned. You don't know? If you don't know, why are you here? Lin Xian said, I saw a lot of people here, so I came over. Hurry up and tell me what the Fortune Celestial Pool is. The 9 Serenity Beast said. After Lin Xian and the others heard, their eyes flashed. The Fortune Celestial Pool should be that mysterious lake. So that was his name. From the looks of it, this gathering was indeed related to this lake. What exactly was the Xia family planning? The 9 Netherworld beast beside him said, Young master, Since you don't know about the creation celestial pond, you probably don't have an invitation, but it doesn't matter. You can use mine. When the time comes, we'll go in together. The 9 Netherworld Beast was very curious about Lin Xian's group. Especially Lin Xian, the 9 Netherworld Beast did not dare to offend him. This was the descendant of the Great Dragon. If he was on good terms with him, it would be beneficial to him. Therefore, the 9 Netherworld Beast was willing to stay by Lin Xian's side. All right, then we won't stand on ceremony. There was no need to worry about the invitation. The banquet would begin in 3 days. Word of what had happened spread, and soon, countless people were in an uproar. All of the surrounding clans in the valley knew about it. An incredible youth came to the second mountain manor. Even the 9 Netherworld Beast had to lower its head to him. The 2 disciples of the Sword Martial Emperor were also killed by the other party. When the news reached the Sword Martial Emperor, the Sword Martial Emperor trembled in anger. Originally, he was looking for a few old friends to exchange their cultivation experience. When he heard this, he almost vomited blood. He had just left for a while, and his 2 disciples were killed. Especially his eldest disciple, who had reached the Boundary Emperor level and was very talented in the Sword Dao. He had planned to train him well. Maybe he could break through. But now, all his hopes were gone. His efforts were all in vain. Damn it, who was it? He went to the second mountain manor with a murderous aura. He wanted an explanation. The people inside, get the hell out here. The Sword Martial Emperor came to the outside of the manor. His murderous aura was surging, and the sword chi on his body kept exploding. At this moment, everything in the world was penetrated. The people in the surrounding valley were also surprised. Many of them rushed over. Was the Sword Martial Emperor going to attack someone? Interesting. Who would have thought that he would see a martial monarch throwing a tantrum before the banquet of the Xia clan had even begun? The shopkeeper and maids in the second mountain manor were scared out of their wits. Was the Sword Martial Emperor here? However, at this moment, Butian walked out of the courtyard where Lin Xian was. He looked up at the sky and said, "It's you. Big brother told you to get out of here. He doesn't want to attack you. Otherwise, you will regret it." Little thing, it's you. When the Sword Martial Emperor saw Butian, he realized that this must be one of the people he met before. Damn kid, hand over the sarcophagus. He grabbed at Butian with his palm. Butian's face turned pale. After all, he was facing a martial emperor. However, at this moment, endless frost appeared in the courtyard and froze the world. It formed an ice shield and blocked the horrifying palm. The palm kept freezing and turned into an ice sculpture. Xueqi walked out and said to Butian, "Go inside. I will deal with it." Butian nodded. "Big sister, be careful." Then, he retreated into the courtyard. Xueqi walked out and looked up at the sky. "You are a martial emperor. How dare you attack a kid? Shameless. Unforgivable." "You again? I am looking for that kid." "What? Does he only dare to hide behind a woman?" The Sword Martial Emperor was talking about Lin Xian. Xueqi shook her head. "You don't deserve my husband's help, because my husband can kill you instantly." "Humph. I thought it was not easy for you to reach the Martial Emperor realm at such a young age. However, you are so stubborn." "Don't blame me for suppressing you. You are not bad. Go back and be my slave." The Sword Martial Emperor's eyes shone with a horrifying light. Then, he raised his arm and waved it out. At this moment, a beam of sword energy appeared and turned into the only thing in the world. Boundless murderous intent shook the sky. The sword slashed down. The surrounding people exclaimed, "It's here!" The Sword Martial Emperor's sword energy. The Sword Martial Emperor was a famous swordsman among the martial emperors. It was originally a representation of attack power, a representation of powerful strength. The Sword Martial Emperor was one of the best among the martial emperors. His swordsmanship was absolutely shocking. Xueqi waved her jade-like hand and unleashed a terrifying frost to fight against the sword energy. The frost had sealed the sword chi. However, the second beam of sword energy came down. Then, hundreds of sword energy came down and shattered the frost in the sky. Xueqi condensed a pair of frost wings. She looked like an ice goddess in a painting, freezing the world. At this moment, everyone was terrified. The blood in their bodies was about to be frozen. The collision of the two martial emperors was earth-shattering. A huge black hole appeared. However, the two of them controlled themselves well. It seemed like they didn't want to alarm the Xia family. Therefore, the black hole quickly disappeared. After the collision, the two of them seemed to be evenly matched. It was too unbelievable. Someone was able to resist the sword martial emperor's attack. Moreover, it was a young man. Who is this woman? Why do I feel that she is very young? She just became a martial emperor not long ago. The sword martial emperor had been a martial emperor for 30,000 years. His swordsmanship had reached perfection. How could he not defeat this woman? The sword martial emperor's face darkened. He snorted and said, "Kid, you are hiding your head but showing your tail. Do you dare to come out and fight with me? I will let you use one hand." At this moment, Lin Xian's voice came from the courtyard. "Do you want to fight? Well, I will let you see my swordsmanship." Chapter 6051. As the sword slashed out, it lit up the nine nether starry sky. It was like a bright lamp in the eternal night. This sword attack was too terrifying. The people around Dishan were all shocked. They were all stupefied at their spots. The sword martial emperor's pupils shrank. As a sword Dao great emperor, he knew how terrifying this sword was. Damn it, he roared. He would not allow himself to be surpassed in sword Dao. In the next moment, he clasped his hands together and slashed down. Then, he slashed forward. The two sword chis collided, and the sound of mountains collapsing could be heard. However, the sword martial emperor's body was pushed back continuously as his sword was sent flying out of his hands. This sword chi had penetrated his body. He landed in the distance and covered his wound with his left hand. His face looked terrible. His blood turned into countless blood-red swords that danced in the sky. The people around exclaimed. The sword martial emperor was injured. Oh God, he was at a disadvantage in a sword Dao battle. Was there an even more terrifying sword Dao great emperor inside? Who are you? Do you dare to come out and meet me? The sword martial emperor gritted his teeth and said, "That sword strike just now was too shocking. You want to meet me?" Lin Xian walked out of the courtyard. His black hair danced in the wind. His handsome face made countless people look up to him. He's so young. It's a young man. This guy, how did he manage to unleash such a terrifying sword attack? Impossible. It's definitely not him. The sword martial emperor snorted. Kid, it's not you. You can't unleash such a sword technique. Ask the expert behind you to come out. You're so ignorant. Who told you that I can't unleash such a sword technique? Then, he stretched out his 5 fingers and grabbed at the void. The power of laws gathered in his hand and formed a sword of laws. Then, he slashed out. Boundless power was gathered within this sword. This sword light seemed to be able to sever everything in its path. Boom. The sword martial emperor kept retreating. His forehead was cracked, and his eyes were wide open. This is impossible. That sword chi was really unleashed by him. This aura was really too similar. In that instant earlier, it was as if the other party had transformed into an unparalleled sword god, causing him to feel incomparably terrified. The others were also surprised. Is this the young sword god? Heavens, his sword was too terrifying. A single slash from the sky could cut through all things. Could it be that he was the youth that even the 9 netherworld beast was afraid of? No wonder the 9 netherworld beast was so arrogant and untamed. Why would it be afraid of a young man? It turned out that this young man's swordsmanship was too astonishing. Who exactly was he? At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. They looked at Lin Xian with faces full of shock. Do you still want to compete with me? Lin Xian's indifferent voice sounded. The sword martial monarch fell silent. His face turned ugly. Lin Xian smiled. You said before that I was only fit to hide behind a woman. Now that I'm out, why don't you dare to do it again? As a swordsman, where's your will? Where's your sword heart? Pick up your sword and fight me. Lin Xian's cold voice sounded like thunder, causing everyone's soul to tremble. The sword martial monarch's blood boiled. In the next moment, he gritted his teeth. You've gone too far. Although your swordsmanship is strong, a great emperor will not tolerate humiliation. Today, even if I have to bet my honor, I'll fight you. Kid, you're not a great emperor, so I won't bully you. Today, let's not compete in cultivation, but in swordsmanship. After that, the sword martial monarch snorted coldly. The cracks on his body quickly healed. At the same time, thousands of sword chi appeared on his body. Sword spirit art. Countless people exclaimed. This is the sword martial monarch's strongest sword technique. The sword chi in the sky gathered above the sword martial monarch's head and formed a palm-sized person. He walked with his sword in his arms, and countless rays of sword light circled around him. Then, the little person quickly flew forward. The sword intent on his body was too strong. Even if the sword martial monarch did not use his cultivation, it was still too strong. Even though the sword martial monarch was not a great emperor, his sword technique was not something that anyone below the great emperor could resist. The quasi-emperors were terrified and in despair. Everyone below the great emperor is an ant. They looked at Lin Xian again. I wonder how strong this kid's sword intent is. The previous two sword moves had stunned everyone. However, they still wanted to see if Lin Xian had other sword techniques. Sword spirit art? All right, I'll let you see my sword technique. Lin Xian stretched out his right hand and pressed toward the void. Qingkuan sword technique. Everything is a sword. Everyone's eyes widened, but they realized that there was nothing on Lin Xian's body. There was no sharp sword aura. What's the meaning of this? Could it be that he's bluffing? No. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding grass, trees, mountains, and stones all burst out with extremely cold sword chi. As for the martial artists in the other palaces, the weapons in their hands also rose into the air and burst out with extremely cold light. Everything in the world turned into Lin Xian's sword for him to use. Boom, boom. The tiny person holding the sword clashed with the sword of everything, and a shocking sword chi burst out. The two collided and shook the world. One was the sword martial monarch, who condensed his own sword chi to form a tiny person. His swordsmanship could be said to be extremely cold. The other was Lin Xian, who condensed all things in the world to form a sword technique. Their sword Dao theories were polar opposites. Who would be more powerful? The sky full of swords fell and hit the tiny person. The tiny person's body shook and the sword chi on its body dimmed. The sword martial monarch roared, I won't be defeated. Using myself as a sword is the most powerful. His tiny sword Dao figure swept through everything, cleaving apart all the swords in the world. Great! Is the sword martial monarch going to win? However, Lin Xian shook his head. The show has just begun. He closed his fingers and a cold light burst out from his eyes. Suddenly, the sword martial monarch's body shook and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He felt that his body seemed to be out of control. The sword intent in his body was controlled by his opponent. This feeling was truly too frightening. The tiny sword chi figure was also affected and quickly dimmed. He hurried back to the sword martial monarch's side in shock. What happened? Everyone was shocked. Is the sword martial monarch injured? Lin Xian said, when you're strong to the extreme, you will also become my sword. What a profound sword skill. What a terrifying sword intent. Did this guy treat the martial sword emperor as a sword and use it as a weapon? This is really crazy. I've lost. The sword martial monarch put away his sword spirit and sighed. In an instant, he seemed to have aged tens of thousands of years. Someone had actually surpassed him in sword Dao. This was a blow to his self-esteem. He didn't expect that there would always be someone better. Young man, can you tell me your name? My name is Lin Wudi. Everyone exclaimed. Lin Wudi, what an arrogant name. The sword martial monarch's eyes flickered. I'll remember this name. I'll cultivate in seclusion. When my sword technique has another breakthrough, I'll come back and fight with you. Anytime, Lin Xian said lightly. Then, the sword martial monarch turned and left. He said in a deep voice, tell the Xia family that I won't attend this banquet. It seemed that he was going to cultivate in seclusion immediately. He was going to cultivate his sword technique again. Chapter 6052. After defeating the sword martial emperor, Lin Xian also returned to the courtyard. He was also in seclusion here. These days, he was waiting for the banquet while comprehending the origin of the immortal qi. He came here to help the corpse emperor. But now, Lin Xian was here for himself. He must enter the creation celestial pool. It definitely contained the secret of the immortal qi. Elder Xia had already broken through. He felt that he was not far from breaking through and becoming an emperor. As long as he could find a way to perfectly fuse the immortal qi and the divine fire, it would be enough. Attaining the Tao in the universe? Lin Xian knew that it was more than 10 times more difficult than here. Not only was there the shackles of the heavenly Tao, but there were also countless people eyeing him covetously. The Nirvana realm and the Supreme Palace would probably not let him get what he wanted. But, so what? Even if the road ahead is dangerous, even if millions of people block my way, I will bravely advance with one sword. This was Lin Xian's Tao. The news here spread again. The young man who made the 9 netherworld beast bow its head defeated the sword martial emperor again. His sword Tao was so terrifying. Countless exclamations sounded. Was there a genius who would rise like a comet one day? Such a person was so powerful. Which family was he from? They had never heard of such a young emperor. They all thought that Lin Xian was already a great emperor. However, they did not know that Lin Xian was only a quasi-emperor. Once he became a great emperor, his strength would increase exponentially. In the Xia family's ancient palace, the Xia family's patriarch asked in a deep voice, "How is it? Is there any news from the burial ground?" 3 figures knelt below. They cupped their fists and said, "Patriarch, we found traces of battle around the creation celestial pool. There was the aura of our Xia family, but we did not find anyone. The torch dragon also disappeared. We did not find it." Hearing this, the first elder asked, "Patriarch, what should we do?" Tomorrow was the day of the banquet. There was no other way. They could only continue to send people to look for the crazy shark. As for the banquet, it began as scheduled. If we want to break the array, we have to borrow the strength of these people. Go and prepare. When the sun rises tomorrow, let those people climb the mountain. Yes. The great elder went to make preparations. The others left as well. Only the Xia family clan leader was left in the ancient hall. He stood up with a cold expression on his face. No matter who it is, whoever dares to go against the Xia family will be destroyed. After a moment of silence, he snorted coldly, "If everything goes well, these people should still be following the Xia family." He headed towards the creation celestial pool. At that time, with their help, I will be able to open the fortune celestial pool. Then, I will be able to obtain everything I want. The Xia clan. When he thought of this, his body became a little excited. He was also an expert who had managed to cultivate 2 strands of immortal energy. Not only that, he felt that he had already reached the peak. If he took another step forward, he would have the 3rd strand of immortal qi, which would make him an earth immortal. However, even after cultivating for 100,000 years, he still hadn't managed to cultivate this strand of immortal qi. Because of this, he felt despair. Was this the end of his road? However, the appearance of the fortune celestial pool had given him new hope. Perhaps he could use the power of the fortune celestial pool to condense the 3rd strand of celestial qi, to become a new land immortal. In that way, he would reach a new height. His lifespan would be extended again. His strength would undergo an earth-shattering change. That was the immortal in everyone's eyes. Even the other great emperors would have to crawl at his feet. Therefore, this plan had to succeed. The next day, just as the sun rose, a passage was opened in the defensive array of Emperor Mountain. The people at the foot of the mountain went up one after another. They handed over their invitations and were invited in by the Xia family. Lin Xian and the others also followed the 9 netherworld beast up the mountain and climbed up the Emperor Mountain. They felt a vast and spectacular sight. The entire Emperor Mountain possessed a mysterious power. This surprised Butian greatly. He said, "Big brother, the power of heaven and earth on this mountain is too terrifying. It surpasses everything." Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and observed with his rinnegan. He was also surprised. Indeed, with his rinnegan, he saw many arrays hidden under this mountain. Moreover, he saw many intertwined dragon veins and spirit veins. This was an extremely terrifying treasure land. However, thinking about it, the Xia family was a family that had lasted for millions of years. They were powerful and had a deep foundation that far surpassed everything. Xia Juyo was also excited. Was this their family? It was indeed very strong. What would happen if he went against such a family? However, he was not afraid. Although his surname was Xia, he was no longer a member of the Xia family. He belonged to the God realm. He had more important things to do. After climbing halfway up the mountain, there was a very wide space. All kinds of buildings and palaces were densely covered in clouds. It was like an immortal palace. After Lin Xian and the others arrived, they were incomparably surprised. There were more people here than at the foot of the mountain. Obviously, these were the true experts. The 9 netherworld beasts said, "There are many people here. Young master, let me introduce you. Over there are the wind, fire, thunder, and lightning families." There were also some other families, such as the Ghost Clan, the Nethercloud Clan, and the Greentail Clan. These families all had great emperors. They had existed for 100,000 to hundreds of thousands of years. It seemed that they had all encountered difficulties in cultivation and urgently needed a fortune to improve themselves. It seemed that they were all eyeing the fortune celestial pool. Xueqi's beautiful eyes flickered. At this moment, a loud voice was heard. The Xia clan had arrived. Everyone in the room stood up at once. Lin Xian and the others also took a deep breath. The most crucial moment had arrived. They wondered if Xia Jiuyo and the others would be discovered. A group of people flew over from afar. The auras of these people were incomparably strong. There was more than one great emperor. Walking at the front was a man. His aura was even more terrifying. He was the Xia clan's patriarch, Xia Qianyu. His strength had reached the realm of 2 strands of immortal qi. Moreover, he seemed even more terrifying than Xia Guangsha. "Greetings, patriarch." The surrounding people bowed one after another in a very courteous manner. In front of their subordinates, no one dared to be arrogant. Xia Tianyu also smiled and nodded. He replied, "Everyone, there is no need to be so polite. Please take a seat." Soon, he arrived at the throne in front. He looked around. Wherever his gaze passed, there was a trace of nostalgia. Suddenly, he stopped in front of Lin Xian. This made Lin Xian and the others' hearts skip a beat. Could it be that we have been discovered? Xia Jiuyo took a deep breath. The aura on his body wavered. Lin Xian said, "Don't act rashly. Let's wait and see." Xia Jiuyo nodded. At this moment, Xia Qinyu said, "This young master should be the young sword god who fought with the sword martial emperor at the foot of the Emperor Mountain. Now that I have seen him, he is indeed extraordinary. I thought that you were already a great emperor since you defeated the sword martial emperor. I didn't expect you to only be a quasi-emperor. Your swordsmanship is really exquisite." Hearing this, the surrounding people all turned their heads and looked at Lin Xian. This was the young man in the legends. He wasn't a great emperor yet, but he defeated the sword martial emperor in swordsmanship. It was unbelievable. Chapter 6053. Xia clan leader, you are too polite. Lin Xian smiled. At the same time, they were all relieved. It turned out that he had not discovered Xia Jiuyo, but was paying attention to Lin Xian. At this moment, someone snorted. A quasi-emperor with slightly better sword skills is nothing to be afraid of. Xia clan leader, let's just ignore him and talk about the creation celestial pool. I want to know if the creation celestial pool is real. Those who spoke all had a frightening cold aura around them. There was also the power of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. They were from the wind, fire, thunder, and lightning families. The others also looked at Xia clan leader. Xia Qinyu smiled and said, "Don't worry, everyone. I originally wanted to treat everyone to a meal and then talk about this. However, since everyone wants to know, fine, I'll tell you directly. The creation celestial pool does exist, and we have already found its location. Really? Then what are we waiting for? Let's go quickly. This time, the one who spoke had a green tail on its back. They were from the Qingwei clan. Xia clan leader shook his head. How can it be so simple? Although we have found the creation celestial pool, we cannot enter it. Because there is a huge formation around the creation celestial pool. Even with the power of my Xia clan, we cannot break this formation. Therefore, I have gathered everyone here, hoping that we can work together to break the formation. No problem. The experts of the surrounding clans nodded. They also knew that if the Xia clan could break the formation by themselves, they would have nothing to do. Therefore, working together was the best way. A branch family member said, Xia clan leader, I don't think we need to eat. Let's go directly. Yes, I am not in the mood to do anything else. I just want to see the creation celestial pool. All right, since everyone is so enthusiastic, let's not delay. Let's go. Xia clan leader also stood up. He waved his hand and said, First Elder, you lead the people there. This time, Xia clan leader did not go. He wanted to stay in the Xia clan. However, the First Elder was also a great emperor-level expert. He led the people of the Xia clan and set off with the others. In the next moment, these people rose into the air and flew into the distance. Let's go too. Lin Xian transmitted his voice to Xia Jiuyo and the others. They followed suit. A team headed towards the bone-burying forest. When the people of the surrounding families saw this, they exclaimed, Is the creation celestial pool in the bone-burying forest? That's right. The great elder said, in the depths of the bone-burying forest. So this was the case. The bone-burying forest was extremely bizarre and terrifying. It was said that there were even martial emperor-level beasts in there. There were even martial emperors who were injured inside. That was why no one had investigated it all this time. Who would have thought that such a mysterious fortune would be hidden there? The group of people entered the bone-burying forest. They landed and moved forward. The demonic beasts they encountered along the way were all easily slain by them. However, after about half an hour, the first elder at the front said, We'll be in the depths of bone-burying forest soon. The demonic beasts here were even more terrifying. Furthermore, there are also some extremely terrifying poisonous creatures and dangerous powers. Everyone, be careful. When the others heard this, they all took a deep breath as the laws revolved around their bodies. They did not dare to be careless. The bone-burying forest was an ancient battlefield. Millions of years ago, a top-level battle took place here. There were more than one martial emperor who had fallen. It could be said that this place was extremely dangerous. Even though they had the advantage in numbers, they still had to be careful. Lin Xian and the others were rather relaxed. After all, this was not the first time they had been here. However, this time, the route they took was different from theirs. Therefore, they still revolved around their armor and followed silently. Boom! Suddenly, a black wind appeared in front of them. It was like two black dragons roaring towards them. Therefore, it was as if they had been slashed by a knife. Many people's armor was beaten until it was dim. Some people were even sent flying. What a terrifying aura! Even Lin Xian and the others were surprised. This path was obviously more difficult. Logically speaking, they should not have died. The Xia family should have been able to find a safer path. Why would they choose such a difficult path? However, after this gust of wind, they calmed down. Because there was no more danger. Finally, they came to the front. The field of vision ahead was vast, and there was only a lake embedded in the ground. The first elder stopped, pointed at the lake in front of them, and said, That is the creation celestial pool. What? Was that the lake water? Many people were ready to rush over. However, the first elder said, Everyone, please be careful. This lake water is abnormally terrifying and has the power of silence. Once you enter, you will probably sink into the lake. Is it that magical? I don't believe it. A member of the Wind Clan did not believe it. He sent out a clone and instantly rushed in. The terrifying storm was like a blade, tearing everything apart. However, in the next moment, his expression changed. He could not sense it. He found that his clone was like a stone sinking into the sea. It was so magical. The powerhouses of the other families all tried. Even a few martial emperors made a move. However, without exception, all the power they sent out disappeared as soon as it entered the lake. At this moment, a martial emperor said, "This should be that extremely terrifying array. How do we open it? Should we join forces?" The first elder nodded and said, "That's right." With a wave of his hand, countless blood-colored flags flew around the lake and connected into a circle. He said, "Everyone, please stand in the corresponding position. Next, we will begin to break the array." After witnessing the miraculous nature of the lake, the surrounding people all believed what the Xia family had said. Therefore, they did not have any doubts. They all stood around the lake. "Let's do it too," the corpse emperor said. However, Lin Xin's brows were tightly knitted together. He kept feeling that something was amiss. He said, "Everyone, be careful. I have a feeling that there is something wrong with the Xia clan." Indeed, the surrounding families all began to move. However, the Xia clan remained standing in the void, as if they had no intention of moving. The others stood in the corresponding positions and said, "Okay, what should we do next?" The first elder said, "Wait, I will move soon." He formed a seal with his palm. Suddenly, the blood-colored flags swayed and condensed into many blood-colored chains that surrounded these people. "What's going on? How dare you seal me?" Immediately, some people were angry. "Everyone, don't worry. Do you think the Xia clan would lie to you? This is just the process of opening the array." As soon as the words came out, the others were skeptical but did not resist. Those blood-colored chains wrapped around more and more people. There were 9 blood-colored chains on each person's body, making clattering sounds. A monstrous blood aura condensed. After doing all this, the first elder waved his hand again, and a law disappeared into the ground in the distance. He said, "Fellow Taoist torch dragon, you can come out now." The earth began to rumble. Then, a dragon head poked out. Chapter 6054. It was a dragon, a torch dragon. The surrounding people exclaimed when they saw this scene. After the torch dragon came out, he said, "Oh, is your Xia family ready?" "That's right." The great elder nodded and said, "We need your frosty power." That was not a problem. The torch dragon opened his mouth and spat out his dragon pearl. It was a pitch-black bead that emitted a terrifying power of ice. The immortal chi on it enveloped the surrounding people. In the next moment, they felt their bodies stiffen. At the same time, those blood-colored chains began to pierce into their bodies and absorb their blood. What was going on? "Damn it, are you trying to harm us?" Immediately, some great emperors roared crazily. They wanted to resist. However, this was carefully prepared by the Xia family. Coupled with the torch dragon's dragon pearl, those great emperors could not resist at all. They could only watch as their blood was absorbed. "Xia family, are you crazy? Although you're strong, you've offended so many families at the same time. Aren't you afraid of revenge? Hurry up and let us go, and everything will be fine. Otherwise, if all our families join forces, you won't be able to bear the consequences." Countless roars could be heard. Xia Jiuyo and the others' expressions changed. Not good, there was indeed a trap. They actually wanted to suck blood. The corpse emperor also frowned. He snorted coldly and wanted to attack. However, at this moment, the great elder said, "Fellow Taoists, don't panic. We're not trying to harm you, but we need some of your bloodline power." "What? You need our bloodline? Why did you say so earlier? Why did you use such a method?" "That's right. Don't try to lie to us. We won't be fooled by you again." They roared crazily and began to fight back. The great elder said loudly, "Do you know what the array formation in this creation celestial pool is? I can tell you. It's called the Bloodthirsty Sky Sealing Array. Back then, it was set up by 5 heavenly masters. Its power was extremely terrifying. Even if one cultivated 2 strands of immortal chi, they could do nothing about it. Unless a real earth immortal came, he would be able to break it with tyrannical power. Of course, there was another way. That was to gather countless powerful blood and fuse it into this array formation. This array formation could be dissolved. Is there really such a thing? Someone from the Yufeng clan asked. The people of the Netherfire race also said, "Why didn't you tell us earlier?" The great elder shook his head. They definitely wouldn't believe him and might even leave. Therefore, in order to prevent such a thing from happening, we decided to act first. Then I'll explain it to you. Some people fell silent because they had indeed discovered that a blood-red array had appeared around the lake. It was extremely terrifying. Above it, bloody light overflowed into the heavens. It was truly shocking. Could it be true? The surrounding people were shocked. The corpse emperor snorted coldly and thought, "Idiot. Regardless of whether it's true or not, I can't let him suck my blood." That's right, Shueqi also said. Even if it was true, his power would suffer a great loss if most of his bloodline was absorbed. Even if he could enter the celestial creation pool, he would not be a match for the Xia clan. Furthermore, not a single person from the Xia family contributed. What a good plan. Look at me. Lin Xian secretly used the power of the great dragon sword soul to break all the blood-colored chains. It would be difficult for other people to succeed, but with the great dragon sword soul's indestructible power, it would not be difficult to break it. Moreover, there was Butian, the little guy who had cultivated the heavenly book. He could also point out some weaknesses. Lin Xian and the others moved quietly. They did not leave after breaking the chains. Instead, they pretended to be in great pain. 3 days passed like this. After 3 days, the faces of the surrounding people turned pale. More than half of their bloodline had been sucked away. Their power had been greatly reduced. Some of the great emperors became frightened. If this continued, they would be sucked dry. At that time, his body and soul might even be destroyed. Damn it, is it not done yet? Damn it, everyone, let's fight back. This was a trap. These people could not wait any longer. However, at this moment, the array around them started to shake violently. Then, a cracking sound could be heard as a crack appeared. Great, it was a success. The great elder's face lit up with joy when he saw this scene. Fellow Taoist, you don't need to panic. Look, the array is already cracking, and it will break soon. Damn it, just hold on for a while longer. These people had already been sucked for 3 days, and they were unwilling to give up halfway. Just like this, another day passed. Finally, a few cracks appeared on the array. It seemed that the array would break at any moment. The great elder took out a spatial array and transmitted his voice. Not long after, several figures walked out from inside. The one in the lead was the Xia family's patriarch, Xia Qinyu. After Xia Qinyu arrived, he looked down at the lake below with a smile. Very good. Boom. Not long after, the bloodthirsty sky ceiling array was completely broken with a boom. The surrounding blood-colored flags also disappeared. The chains were also broken. The torch dragon took back the arcane in dragon pearl, and the others broke out of the ground. They roared at the sky. Damn it, Xia family, you are too despicable. Give me an explanation. Everyone, let's work together. Many people rushed toward the Xia family. Xia Qinyu snorted coldly, and 2 bursts of immortal energy erupted from his body. Everyone, what is the meaning of this? Are you going to attack the Xia family? The torch dragon beside him also flew over. He also released 2 bursts of immortal energy. The 2 super great emperors stood there, suppressing all directions. The people of the surrounding families all stopped, their faces ashen. Damn it, this is really too damn it. This is so infuriating. Xia Qinyu said. Everyone spent a lot of effort to break the array. Don't you want to go down and take a look? The Fortune Celestial Pond was inside. This time, you went first, and the people of the surrounding families also learned their lesson. They definitely wouldn't work for others anymore. They wanted to follow behind and reap the benefits of the fishermen. Okay, no problem. Xia Qinyu sneered, waved his hand, and tore open the surface of the lake, rushing in. Without the bloodthirsty sky ceiling array, the power of silence also disappeared. Xia Qinyu waved his hand. Xia family, follow me. Immediately, The Great Elder and the others entered one after another. The torch dragon also swung its tail and rushed in. It seems that there is no danger. Let's go in. The surrounding families and sects also followed in one after another. Lin Xian and the others also said, "Let's go." The group of people entered the lake. After entering, a gloomy and cold power spread over. They found that the lake was very vast and incomparably cold. They all used their laws to resist. After a while, they were stunned. Below, there seemed to be a huge monster, and a black shadow shrouded all directions. What is that? Let's go down and take a look. They quickly rushed over. When they arrived at the place where the black shadow was and saw the scene ahead, they were all stunned. Chapter 6055. The huge shadow below was none other than a city. It was an extremely ancient city. The city walls were desolate and full of cracks. There were knife wounds and sword holes. In short, it seemed to have experienced an endless battle. There was actually an ancient city here. The surrounding people were all shocked. Even the Xia family was surprised. Could it be that the creation immortal pool was in this ancient city? Go in. They quickly descended and found the gate of the city. There was brown blood on the two pitch-black gates. Obviously, it was left behind from the battle back then. Open it. A great emperor of the Netherfire clan struck out with both palms. Two big flaming palms blotted out the sky and the earth and slapped forward. However, the blood on the black gate burst out with a blood-red light. It formed a blood-red sword energy and flew over. The Netherfire Great Emperor felt the impact and kept retreating. The others also turned pale. No way. Even after so many years, the blood was still so powerful. What kind of battle happened back then? The Netherwater Great Emperor said, "Could it be that battle a million years ago?" Thinking of that battle, the surrounding people's scalps went numb. Xia Qinyu walked out and said, "Let's attack together." The other people nodded. A few great emperors joined forces and blasted out a vast amount of energy, sending it flying forward. Endless immortal chi and divine fire turned into a dazzling light. Like a sky, it landed in front of them and finally opened the gate of the ancient city. Rushing out, a primitive aura and a mysterious power swept through the ancient city. It was a little gray inside, as if it was shrouded in a desolate power. Go in. The Xia family walked in front, and the others followed. Lin Xian used his Rinnegan to observe. He said, "Be careful, everyone. I'm afraid it's very dangerous in this ancient city." Xia Jiuyo, Xueqi, and the others nodded. Even the corpse emperor looked serious. After entering the ancient city, they saw many corpses on the ground. They were wearing ancient clothes. Some had turned into white bones. Fragments of various weapons were scattered on the ground. The surrounding palaces and pavilions were also shattered and turned into ruins. Back then, a world-destroying war had indeed taken place here. Wong. At this moment, another gust of wind blew up in front of them. It was a black cloud that flew over. It was actually capable of devouring a human soul. Many people felt their souls trembling as if they were about to be sucked away. "Get out of my sight." The Deep Fire Emperor punched out. The Ghost Wind Great Emperor struck out with a blade of water, severing heaven and earth. The others frantically retreated to avoid the black fog. They were terrified. They had just arrived, and they had already encountered such a dangerous force. This ancient city was too terrifying. At this moment, Xia Qinyu said, "Guys, since the ancient city is so big, why don't we split up?" As soon as these words were spoken, the eyes of the others flickered. There were indeed some people who wanted to act alone. Perhaps this place really did contain some heaven-shaking treasure. However, there were also some people whose faces were pale. It was so dangerous here. If they split up, they might die. Immediately, someone laughed and said, "Xia clan leader, if you don't mind, we are willing to follow the Xia clan and contribute some strength." Naturally, he welcomed it. Xia Qinyu smiled. Recruiting some people was also beneficial to them. For example, when there was danger, they could let these people take the risk and watch from the back. The Xia clan was strong, so they had gathered many people. Of course, There were also some who were prepared to act separately. For example, the wind, fire, thunder, and lightning clans. Therefore, the 4 clans were prepared to act alone. Lin Xian was also prepared to leave the Xia clan. After all, he had Xia Juyo and Xia Xingchen by his side. Once they encountered danger, Xia Juyo would probably be recognized if she used her strength. There was also the Corpse Emperor, the enemy of the Xia clan. Once he was recognized, a shocking battle would be unavoidable. Now that the situation in the ancient city was unclear, it was better to preserve their strength. Thus, the group of people prepared to walk into the distance. However, at this moment, Xia Qinyu said in a deep voice, "Wait." Lin Xian and the others halted in their tracks as their hearts skipped a beat. Lin Xian turned around and said, "Oh, Xia clan leader, is there anything else?" "Lin Gongzi, the people beside you have been covered in black robes. Can you let me see their real faces?" While speaking, he stared at 2 figures. One was the Corpse Emperor, and the other was Xia Juyo. For some reason, he felt that these 2 people were very strange. "That's not necessary. My 2 friends don't like to be disturbed." Lin Xian shook his head and said. The first elder walked out. "Humph, calling you Lin Gongzi is giving you face. When has anyone dared to refuse the Xia clan's work?" "What if I don't agree?" Lin Xian said coldly. The surrounding people were surprised. This young man dared to challenge the Xia clan. "It's been a long time since anyone dared to challenge us. Don't think that you can be arrogant in front of the Xia clan just because you defeated a great emperor. You're not qualified." The first elder stared at Lin Xian, and an extremely cold light burst out from his eyes. Then, he pointed at one of the black-robed men and said, "Let me see who he is. After that, I'll let you go. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude." The figure he pointed at was naturally Xia Juyo. Obviously, he also noticed that there was something unusual about the other party. It couldn't be helped. Xia Juyo had the legendary Juyo body, which was an extremely special physique in the Xia clan. Now that they were in close contact, how could the Xia clan's experts not sense it? However, Xia Juyo hid it especially well, and with the power of the sky-swallowing jar, the Xia clan's experts couldn't sense it. Therefore, the Xia clan's people weren't very confident. Hearing this, Xia Juyo was ready to attack at any time. Even the Corpse Emperor snorted coldly. It seemed that he couldn't hold back anymore. Lin Xian smiled. "The Xia clan is really arrogant. Previously, you trapped us in the formation and absorbed our blood to break the formation. But you're unharmed. Now, you want to bully me, a young junior. Who are you going to bully next time? The Wind, Fire, Thunder, and Lightning clan, or the Greentail clan? Those people didn't look good. Fellow Taoist, you're right. The Xia clan is too arrogant. A lot of my blood was absorbed by him." The other people were also angry. The Xia clan can't go too far. If it had been before, they would have watched the show. But now, it was different. They had all been tricked by the Xia clan before. Therefore, they were very disgusted with the Xia clan. Now, the Xia clan wanted to bully them again. Naturally, they were annoyed. "Young man, I only have one request. Release the black vortex on him, and let me feel his aura. That's all. We won't do anything to you. There's no room for discussion. If you insist on being stubborn, don't blame us for attacking you." After he finished speaking, Lin Xian snorted coldly and took a step forward. Xueqi also released a strong force. Xia Juyo and the Corpse Emperor also prepared to attack. The atmosphere became tense in an instant. A great battle was about to break out. Chapter 6056. The others also gasped. "We haven't even seen the treasure yet, but we're going to have a big battle in advance?" However, at this moment, Torch Dragon said, "Well, we're here to find the celestial pool of creation. Now, we haven't even seen its shadow, and we're going to fight in advance? It's not too late to find the celestial pool of creation first." After saying this, he gave Lin Xian a meaningful look. The members of the Xia family were shocked. Even Xia Qinyu was stunned. "You want to help them?" He really didn't understand why Torch Dragon would speak up for these young people. Although the other party was a great emperor, they only had a wisp of immortal chi, so they didn't take it seriously. Torch Dragon said, "This ancient city is so dangerous. If the battle causes something unexpected, it will be troublesome. Who knows if there are mysterious arrays in this city?" Hearing this, Xia Qinyu was silent. Soon, he nodded. "Okay, then I'll give Brother Torch Dragon face. Boy, you're very lucky. I'll spare you this time. Next time we meet, don't blame me for being ruthless." A trace of cold killing intent appeared in his eyes. Then, he snorted and turned to leave. The members of the Xia family laughed coldly and followed the clan leader. "Let's go too." The other clans all chose a direction and quickly moved forward. After all, the ancient city was very big. No one knew where the celestial pool of creation was. They could only rely on luck. It was too dangerous. After these people left, Xia Jiuyo breathed a sigh of relief. The corpse emperor also snorted. "Xia family, don't let me see you. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson. Let's move too," Lin Xian said to Butian, while using his Rinnegan to look around. "You use your heavenly book to see if there are any clues." Butian nodded and said, "Big brother, I can only try my best. However, I only cultivated a little bit of the heavenly book. By the way, I have this thing." Then, he waved his hand and took out a black ruler. "What is this?" Xia Xingchen next to him blinked and asked curiously. Butian said, "This is called the sky measuring ruler. It's my grandfather's. He left it to me." After saying that, Butian began to use the heaven measuring ruler to determine the direction. The sky measuring ruler kept spinning in Butian's palm. Finally, he stopped and pointed in one of the directions. Butian said, "Come, let's go in this direction." This was the east of the city. The group quickly set off. Along the way, they walked cautiously. The reason for that was because danger was present everywhere in the city. There were all kinds of clouds and mists. There were black clouds and red clouds. It was extremely terrifying. Once they were enveloped by it, a massacre would ensue. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the others had been careful along the way, and they had not encountered any danger. After half a day, they finally stopped. "Let's rest for a while." Even though it was only half a day, it was more dangerous than fighting for 10 years. Everyone was a little tired. They found a relatively safe place and sat down to rest. Not long after, another team arrived. At first, Xueqi and the others were startled. This was because these were also black clouds with red eyes on them. They thought that it was the same kind of fog from before that had come again. However, Lin Xian realized that it was not the case. The aura was not right. The corpse emperor beside him said, "They are from the Dark Cloud tribe." The Black Cloud clan was also a top-notch clan. Although they were not as strong as the Xia clan, they were not as strong. Although the Dark Cloud tribe was not as strong as the Dark Cloud tribe, it was much stronger than the Yu family. At this moment, the Dark Cloud tribe had arrived and saw Lin Xian and the others. They did not go forward. Instead, they landed on the other side. However, these blood-red eyes kept falling on Lin Xian and the others. Finally, one of the stormy clouds flew over and turned into a figure. It was a man in black armor. He was handsome and had blood-red eyes. On his back, he carried a long black sword. He strode forward, and as he neared, he looked over at Lin Xian. He said, "Are you the young swordsman who defeated the Sword Martial Emperor? I heard that your swordsmanship is very strong. I wonder if you can compare notes with me? Let me see if you defeated the Martial Emperor with your true ability." There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. Obviously, he was challenging Lin Xian. The 9 netherworld beasts said, "Do you want to fight? I will accompany you." He walked out. However, the man in black armor said, "I won't fight with you. You don't know swordsmanship." "I will fight with him. What do you think? Kid, do you dare? I heard that you are called invincible. What right do you have to call yourself invincible?" Obviously, Lin Xian's title and powerful swordsmanship had angered some people. Now that they had the chance, they naturally wanted to attack him. Lin Xian stood up and said, "Are you sure you want to fight? I am afraid that if you lose, Your family will not follow the rules and attack me. The man in black armor snorted. I, Wu Yunhe, am not such a shameless person. I swear in the name of the martial emperor that we will fight one-on-one without involving any family or sect. If I lose, I am not as good as you. Behind him, those from the Wu Yunhe family sneered, because they did not think that Wu Yunhe would lose. In their opinion, the sword martial emperor was defeated because he was careless and was sneak attacked. The same thing would never happen to a martial monarch again. Come on, kid. I will give you a chance. I will let you fight first. Wu Yunhe waved his hand confidently. Lin Xian took out the immortal slaying sword. He said, Then I will not be polite. In the next moment, a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. Then, he stabbed out with the sword. The murderous aura on the immortal slaying sword was extremely fast. Not good. The people from the Wu Yunhe family were shocked. There is something wrong with this sword. Wu Yunhe's pupil shrank. He wanted to draw out the sword, but it was too late. In a hurry, he could only throw out a punch. With a boom, one of his arms was injured, and even the bones were visible. He retreated to the back. His expression turned extremely ugly. Lin Xian laughed. Is that all you have? You are too weak. Do you still want to fight? When the 9 netherworld beasts saw this scene, it laughed heartily. Wu Yunhe, you are too weak. You can't even block Lin Gongzi's sword? You are useless. You are courting death. How dare you sneak attack me? Damn it! Wu Yunhe roared. He pulled out the black sword on his back. He quickly slashed it. This sword turned into a black lightning. It was dazzling as if it could pierce through everything. Lin Xian attacked with his sword. The two collided. Not long after, Wu Yunhe was at a disadvantage again. Damn it, this is impossible. He has surpassed me in swordsmanship. I want you to die. Extremely cold, murderous aura burst out from his eyes. He would not allow such a person to exist. In the next moment, he stopped suppressing his martial emperor cultivation. A monstrous immortal chi swept out in all directions. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into a god of war. The black sword in his hand released a terrifying aura. It was as if it could split the sky and earth. Go to hell. The sword slashed down, enveloping Lin Xian. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.